The night wind was like a knife, cutting off the tranquility of the university campus. Neon lights flashed in the distance, but they couldn't shine into the tree-lined avenue engulfed in thick fog. Shen Qingqing hugged her school bag tightly and staggered. She had just come out of the study room and wanted to take a shortcut back to the dormitory. Unexpectedly, the surroundings suddenly became eerily quiet. The air was filled with a rotten sweet smell, like the corpse gas boiling in a tomb, which made her stomach churn. "Hey, is anyone there?" she shouted softly, her heart beating like a drum. Just now, she heard screams, the screams of her classmates. Around the corner, several familiar faces fell to the ground, their faces as pale as paper, their eyes wide open but lifeless, and black air on their chests crawled like living creatures and penetrated into their skin. "Help! Help!" A girl crawled towards her. Her voice was like a candle in the wind, her nails dug into the soil, leaving bloody traces. Shen Qingqing wanted to pull her, but he saw a black shadow floating behind the girl, 2 meters high, shaped like a skinny ghost, wrapped in green phosphorus fire. The ghost opened its bloody mouth, its teeth were like iron hooks, and bit down fiercely. "Ah!" The girl's scream suddenly stopped, and her body instantly shriveled up, like a corpse that had been drained of its juices. Blood mist splashed onto Shen Qingqing's face. It was biting cold and smelled like rust. The surrounding students ran away in all directions, and some screamed, "Ghost! There is a ghost on campus!" But more people collapsed on the ground, and black energy came in like a tide, swallowing everything. Shen Qingqing's legs went weak. She was not a hero, she was just an ordinary sophomore. She was even afraid of cockroaches. At this moment, the ghost figure turned to her, its green eyes locked, and a low murmur echoed in the air, "Fresh meat." She backed away and bumped into a tree trunk, sending chills down her spine. The ghost approached, claws stretched out, and the dark wind blew against her face, curling up her hair. Black air penetrated into her nasal cavity. She kept coughing, her vision was blurred, her chest felt as if she had been hit by a hammer, and her soul seemed to be torn out of her body. Despair flooded her like a tide. "It's over. I'm going to die too. Mom and Dad, I'm sorry for you." Just when the ghost claw touched her throat, a silver light suddenly appeared. A clear ringtone rang in the air, as sweet as broken jade. A translucent woman's figure emerged, with long hair and a plain white dress looming in the fog. She waved her jade hand, and the silver bell flew and hit the ghost. Boom! The ghost retreated and let out a piercing scream. Phosphorus fire splashed everywhere, burning the ground and making a sizzling sound. The woman snorted coldly. How dare a little remnant soul cause trouble on the edge of a ghost town? Shen Qingqing's eyes widened and he gasped, Who are you?" The woman turned around, her face was beautiful, and there was an otherworldly fairy spirit between her eyebrows, Luo Li. "The fate has come, girl, come with me." She took Shen Qingqing's hand, and her palm was as warm as jade, which instantly dispelled the black energy in her body. The two of them ducked and jumped into the fog, and the ghosts roared and chased them. Bodies piled up around them, and the smell of blood became even stronger. They came to an abandoned experimental building in the back of the campus. There were vines twining at the door and faint runes flickering. Luo Li opened the door, and it was as dark as ink inside, with only a faint blue light floating in the air. Under the lamp, a tube of crystal-clear injection stood still, the needle shone with golden light, and the spiritual light flowed in the liquid, like a river of stars pouring down. "This is..." Shen Qingqing's heartbeat accelerated, and she vaguely felt that this thing was extraordinary. Luo Li's eyes were deep. The ancient elixir injection is specially designed for the awakening of reincarnated people. In your previous life, You were the famous consciousness spirit lady in the spiritual world, and your spiritual consciousness was sealed in your body. It is the opportunity for the ghost city to revive tonight. Inject it and integrate the spiritual consciousness, otherwise the ghost tide will swallow the city and you and I will both die. Shen Qingqing hesitated. The ghost roar was approaching, and there were black shadows outside the building. I am just an ordinary person, so precious. Ordinary? Huh. Luo Li chuckled, her voice gushing like a spring. The ghost energy has invaded your meridians. If you delay any longer, you will become a walking zombie. Trust me once. The ghost's claws smashed against the door, and wood chips flew everywhere. Shen Qingqing gritted his teeth, grabbed the injection, and stabbed at his arm. With a puff sound, the cold liquid poured into his blood, instantly burning his body like fire. She screamed and fell to the ground, her whole body convulsed, and her vision exploded into countless fragments. In her mind, a flood of memories poured out. In her past life, she flew with a sword, shot up to the realm of madness, 1 shot to build the foundation, 3 shots of golden elixir. She cheated on the talisman, passed the exam of the Academy of Divine Cultivation, the fusion of spiritual consciousness, slaughtered the Ghost King, turned the sky with her palms, and all ghosts knelt down. Ah! She screamed, the spiritual power in her body exploded, the abandoned building trembled, and dust fell. Luo Li took a step back, surprise flashed in his eyes. It's done. The reincarnation of spiritual consciousness has merged, and the initial cultivation of the golden elixir realm has begun. Shen Qingqing opened her eyes, with a golden light flashing in her eyes. The aura around her body was like a tornado, and her clothes were hunting. The ghost broke through the door, dozens of black shadows rushed towards him, a fishy wind blew into his nostrils, and there were thick claws and claws. Get lost! She shouted, holding the magic formula in her hand, and memories of her past life emerged. With a touch of the jade finger, a phantom of the golden glow injection material appeared, turned into thousands of golden needles, and shot out wildly. Chi-chi-chi. The golden needle penetrated the ghost shadow, the phosphorus fire exploded, and the ghost howled loudly. The leading ghost's green eyes widened, his body was riddled with holes, and he roared in disbelief. Is this the elixir needle light? Impossible. Surviving students around looked out of the window. They thought they were going to die, but they saw this scene. A girl who had been running away in embarrassment just now, standing on the spot, golden needles like rain, killing ghosts like cutting grass. Their eyes widened, their mouths opened wide enough to fit into their fists, and some trembled. Oh my God, she is an immortal cultivator? A boy rubbed his eyes and knelt on his knees. She was asking for help just now, but now, this golden light is so scary. Even ghosts are afraid of her. The girls screamed and turned to worship. Fairy. She is a fairy who came down to earth. Saved us. The ghost image collapsed and dissipated into black smoke, leaving a burnt smell in the air. Shen Qingqing stopped his hand, his breath was steady, and the spiritual power in his body surged like a river. She looked down at the palm of her hand, and a spiritual rune flashed. The memories of the past life are all back. Luo Li came closer and held her hands respectfully. Shen Qingqing, congratulations on your awakening. The modern city is prosperous on the surface, but in fact it is spiritually revived and full of ghost towns. On the edge of this campus is the Walked Ghost City, the site of the ancient Ghost King's seal. The Academy of Immortality is hidden in the market. Admission is based on the talisman paper test for grading. Only by recharging the spiritual stone in the spiritual stone wallet can you inject injections and buy talismans to advance to the realm. The weak eats the strong, and the ghost town becomes a testing ground. Shen Qingqing nodded. contempt flashing in his eyes. Those secular dignitaries and rich second generation are like an ears in front of immortal cultivators. Spiritual stone wallet? I have countless spiritual stones in my previous life. Now I only need to integrate spiritual consciousness to slay ghosts and dominate the world. Luo Li's face was solemn, but be careful, the Ghost King's reincarnation conspiracy has emerged. It controls the remnant soul and intends to break the seal. Qin Feng, that ambitious immortal cultivator, has noticed that your spiritual consciousness has awakened, and will definitely obstruct it. Shen Qingqing sneered, and his spiritual power was shocked. The golden light around his body was strong, and the walls of the abandoned building were cracked. Let him come. Luo Li, lead the way. I want to enter the Immortal Cultivation Academy to investigate the truth about the Ghost King. The surviving students gathered around, and a leading boy knelt down, his voice trembling. Fairy, you saved our whole school, please take us in. In this world, ghosts are rampant, and we are willing to follow you. The girls had tears in their eyes. Yes. Fairies are so powerful. We have never seen them kill ghosts with just one shot. Shen Qingqing glanced at them and said calmly, on the road to cultivating immortality, you will survive 9 deaths. Keep up, and you will be lucky if you survive. She stepped into the golden light and rose into the air. Luo Li followed her, turning into a stream of light and flying into the night sky. Outside the campus, the fog cleared, and the students looked up, their eyes filled with fanatical admiration. She flew. She really flew. We are going to the Immortal Academy, too. On the top of a tall building in the distance, a black-robed figure stood with hands behind his back. It was Qin Feng. There was a sinister look in his eyes, and he clenched his fists. Shen Qingqing, reincarnated spiritual consciousness? Humph, even a mere freshman dares to touch my ghost town plan. The college entrance exam will start tomorrow, and I will let you know what an ant is. The night wind is howling, and the exam bell is about to ring. Shen Qingqing's figure disappeared into the sky. Deep in the ghost town, a pair of blood eyes slowly opened. The night sky is like ink, and the stars are hidden in the mist of the revived spiritual energy. Shen Qingqing stepped on the golden light and flew past the high-rise buildings in the city. The wind whistled in his ears, mixed with Luo Li's whisper. The academy is hidden in an abandoned factory area on the outskirts of the city, making it difficult for outsiders to find it. The registration office is at the east gate, and you can only enter by scanning the QR code on your Lingxi wallet to register. Those children of aristocratic families have recharged their Lingxi early, and the injections and talismans are piled up like mountains. The lights were brightly lit below, and neon reflected a vast campus disguised as ruins. The runes flickered faintly, blocking the sight of mortals. Shen Qingqing swooped down, the golden light converged, and when he landed, his clothes fluttered lightly, bringing with him a burst of crisp spiritual wind, which swept away the smell of decaying rust around him. She looked around. Dozens of new students were lining up to sign up. The air was filled with the stench of nervous sweat and faint spiritual energy fluctuations. Luo Li's figure faded and turned into a wisp of smoke that penetrated into her sleeve. Keep a low profile. Your golden elixir spiritual consciousness is too dazzling and can easily cause trouble. In front of the registration table, a young man with oily hair and a powdery face sat cross-legged. His spiritual stone wallet was projected in the air, flashing blue light. He is Qin Feng's younger brother, Zhao Sai, who is in the middle stage of foundation building. He usually relies on his master's power to run rampant. He glanced at Shen Qingqing and saw that she was wearing an ordinary school uniform without any luxurious spiritual weapons. Her nose was twitching and she sneered, "Hey, newbie? Scan the QR code to register the Spirit Stone wallet. Pay the registration fee of 1,000 Spirit Stones first, or get out. Civilian waste, don't waste my time. Freshmen were whispering around, and someone recognized Zhao Sai. His face turned pale, and he lowered his head and backed away. Qin Feng's men can't be offended. This girl looks weak, it's over. A girl covered her mouth and whispered. The video of her killing ghosts on campus last night went viral. Is it her? But why doesn't she have a wallet? Shen Qingqing raised his eyebrows slightly. In his previous life, there were mountains of spiritual stones, but now he is treated as a beggar. She stretched out her jade hand, and her spiritual sense penetrated into her body. The lingering effects of the elixir surged, and a temporary spirit stone wallet appeared. She scanned the code and made a ding, forcibly registering it. Zhao Sai stared, his spiritual power was shaken, the talisman array on the table lit up, and he tried to block it, untouchable. Where did you get the black wallet? I suspect that you are a ghost cultivator who has infiltrated. Get out of the examination room. There was sarcasm everywhere, and the freshmen pointed and pointed. Ha ha, ordinary people still want to cultivate immortality? They don't even have spiritual stone wallets, injections? Dreaming. Zhao Sai stood up, the foundation building momentum was pressing, a sinister wind blew on his face, and the stench of ghosts faintly seeped out, making those in line weak in the legs and backed away, and some people kept coughing. It stinks. He used ghost elixir to supplement it? Shen Qingqing stood still, a golden light flashed in his eyes, and he combined his spiritual consciousness to sense that Zhao's four meridians were empty, and the foundation was built entirely with external medicine. She sneered, and dares to block the road? Before she finished speaking, Luo Li's voice rang in her mind. Don't worry, the first level of the spiritual consciousness test is coming soon. I'll teach you the basic cheating technique on the talisman paper. Outline the sea of knowledge talisman in your mind, stick it on the test paper, automatically absorb the spiritual waves of the test questions, and fake a perfect score. Zhao Sai clawed at him. His claws were thick, and the passers-by screamed and backed away. Let's fight. This girl is dead. In the shadow in the distance, a figure in white robes was invisible and watching. It was Jiyu Han, the young master of a family that cultivates immortals. With his sharp eyebrows and starry eyes, thousands of stones were piled up in his spiritual stone wallet. His eyes fell on Shen Qingqing's beautiful face, and his heart trembled slightly. This woman, her spiritual consciousness is as pure as the ancient Lingji. The golden needle slaying ghosts in the campus video last night was actually her? Interesting. He had a crush on the bard, and he tapped the hilt of the sword lightly with his fingers, but stayed still and watched what happened. Shen Qingqing did not dodge or evade. His spiritual consciousness surged out like a tide, and once the invisible barrier blocked it, Zhao Sai's claws shook back, the tiger's mouth cracked, blood spattered, and the smell of rust filled the air. He staggered back, his eyes widened like copper bells, and his voice trembled. You have spiritual consciousness to protect your body? Golden elixir? Impossible. How can civilians match it? The freshmen around him gasped, and a boy rubbed his eyes. That block just now? She didn't move, but she knocked Zhao Sai away. It's too strong. The girl's eyes changed, from ridicule to doubt. She is a hidden genius? Zhao Sai is in the middle stage of foundation building. Zhao Sai's face was livid, and he gritted his teeth and roared. See the real results in the examination room. In the first spiritual test, 90% of the civilians were eliminated. He retreated in embarrassment and secretly called Qin Feng. Boss, there is a commoner girl named Shen Qingqing, with golden elixir spiritual consciousness, who massacred the campus ghosts last night. Sign up. The examination hall was brightly lit, with hundreds of stone tables lined up. Each table had a spiritual crystal ball, emitting blue light, and the air buzzed with spiritual waves that shook the eardrums. Freshmen filed in, and Shen Qingqing sat down quietly. The candidates around her whispered, "I heard that this test tests the strength of spiritual consciousness. It is full of traps. If you accidentally, your soul will explode." She closed her eyes, swept her spiritual consciousness, and sensed ghost traps hidden under the table, black threads like living snakes, waiting to be triggered to swallow the soul. Luo Li whispered, "The talisman is cheating, it's quick." Shen Qingqing thought, and memories of past lives emerged. The aura on his fingertips condensed on the paper, and the sea of knowledge talisman as thin as cicada wings was hidden under the crystal ball. The runes light up, quietly absorbing the test questions: expansion of spiritual consciousness, resistance to ghost energy, fusion potential. She pressed the ball with her jade hands, injected spiritual power, the crystal ball trembled, and the blue light skyrocketed, reaching the dome. The old examiner was dozing off. He opened his eyes suddenly and his beard and hair stood on end, full marks. Spiritual consciousness is like a sea, fused with the ancient level. There is such a monster among the freshmen? His voice trembled, and he rubbed his eyes and looked again. The candidates around the stone table were dumbfounded. A fat boy opened his mouth wide and drooled. "I only passed in spiritual consciousness, and she just exploded. The crystal ball is about to crack." The girl screamed and worshipped, "Fairy! She can pass the test by squinting, we can last a long time." The whole place was in an uproar, and the examiner shouted repeatedly, "Shen Qingqing, first in the spiritual knowledge test. Go straight to the second level." Zhao Sai was supervising the exam next to him. His face was as white as a ghost, and his fists were bleeding. "How is it possible? There are no traces of the talisman. What is she hiding?" His eyes were sinister, and he secretly sent 2 younger brothers to follow her. "Keep an eye on her. For the actual battle in the second level, my boss set up a ghost spirit to ambush her, so that she will never come back." Shen Qingqing stood up and left the scene calmly. With a sweep of his spiritual consciousness, he sensed the shadow following him and sneered silently. The dormitory area is hidden in the back hill of the college, with wooden houses standing in clusters, a spiritual spring gurgling at the door, and the air is fresh and fragrant with medicine. She pushed the door open and walked in. On the simple bed, there was an exquisite jade box standing still. The lid of the box opened automatically, shining with golden light, 10,000 spirit stone recharge cards, 10 tubes of foundation building injections, and spirit stone wallet upgrade crystals. Luo Li exclaimed, "A handiwork from the Jiyuhan family. He has a crush on you and has been observing you for a long time. This gift package is priceless." Shen Qingqing's eyes were soft, and she scanned the QR code to recharge. Spiritual stones poured into her wallet like a river. The golden elixir in her body buzzed, and her realm was faintly loose. She pinched the injection, the golden light on the needle shone, and she sniffed the medicine and the fragrance hit her nose. Good stuff. In the previous life, I had 1 injection of golden elixir and 3 injections of nascent soul. Now I will use this opportunity to crush Xiao Xiao. Inside the box was a note with vigorous ink, "Fairy Shen, who slays ghosts with golden needles and has an alluring grace. Yours sincerely, Jiyu Han, see you in the academy." She raised the corners of her lips slightly, knowing that this person was reliable, but was not in a hurry to contact him. The young master of the aristocratic family is also very discerning. Late at night, 2 stalkers outside the dormitory were sneaking around and filled with evil spirits. One of them whispered, "Master Qin said that there is a ghost in this woman. Find out the details, and tomorrow she will be ambushed by ghosts. Shen Qingqing's spiritual consciousness spread out like a net, sensing everything. With a wave of his jade hand, a golden light suddenly appeared outside the window, turning into a fine needle and silently piercing the two people's meridians. They groaned and fell to the ground, their whole bodies convulsed, ghostly aura leaked out of their mouths, and the stench was pungent. The spiritual consciousness backfired. She found it. The passing freshman heard this, and stared at the crowd with wide eyes. Qin Feng's people? They were knocked away? This Shen Qingqing is so cruel. A girl trembled. The aura in her dormitory is soaring to the sky, and the golden needle just now is a magical skill. When Zhao Sai heard the news, his face twisted, and he reported to Qin Feng urgently, "Boss, she passed the first level with perfect scores, and Ji Yuhan even gave her a gift." The follower was deposed. On the top of the high building, Qin Feng hunted in black robes, with blood in his eyes. What a Shen Qingqing! What about the fusion of spiritual consciousness? In the second stage of the actual examination, I ambushed the remaining ghosts of Yulan Ghost City, and the ghosts and spirits merged to form the ultimate murderous force. Ji Yuhan, don't even think about intervening in the Ghost King's conspiracy. In the dormitory, Shen Qingqing sat cross-legged, the injection pierced his arm. Phut, the spiritual liquid surged, the heat washed through the meridians, the golden elixir roared, the golden light around him was like a tornado, the roof tiles trembled, and the spiritual wind surged out, rolling up the fallen leaves in the mountains and forests. Luo Li emerged with admiration in his eyes. The injections are soaring, the golden elixir is at its peak. Tomorrow's actual battle, let him kill all the ghosts and spirits with one injection. Deep in the ghost town in the distance, blood eyes pulsed, and the whisper echoed, "Reincarnated lady. Come on, the second level is your cemetery." The bell of the examination room rang faintly. Dawn was approaching, and the storm was about to come. Shen Qingqing opened his eyes, murderous intent revealed in his eyes. "Qin Feng, Ghost King, here we come. In the world of immortality, from now on, I am the only one who dominates." In the examination room, hundreds of candidates who passed the first level filed into the room, surrounded by stone platforms, with a blood-red talisman array pulsating in the center, and the air buzzed like the cries of ghosts. Zhao Sai sat on the high platform to invigilate the exam, with the momentum of foundation building overwhelming. He glanced at everyone with a sinister smile. Second level, actual combat against ghosts. Release the remaining spirits of Orchid Ghost City, survive for a quarter of an hour without dying, and pass the test. Civilian wastes, prepare to feed your souls to ghosts. He locked eyes with Shen Qingqing, and squeezed out between his teeth, "Especially you, who was teased by the golden needle last night. Today, the ghosts and spirits have merged, and the foundation building is at its peak, and I will crush you like a worm." The dawn bell rang like thunder, shaking the curtains of the wooden house on the hill behind the college, and the spiritual wind mixed with the fragrance of medicine and the moisture of the earth blew towards my face. Shen Qingqing pushed open the door and walked out, her long hair dancing with the golden light, and her eyes filled with murderous intent like swords. She stepped on the void and rushed towards the actual examination room, a vast campus disguised as an abandoned warehouse. The rusty door was open, and the cold ghost wind howled out of it. The smell was pungent, making the legs of the passing freshmen weak and trembling. The faces of the candidates around were pale, and a fat boy's legs were shaking like a sieve, sweating like rain. Orchid Ghost City? That is a forbidden area of the academy, with countless ghosts swallowing souls. How can we survive in the early stages of foundation building? The girls hugged each other and cried, "Zhao Sai is right, Zhu Sai, if she is eliminated, her soul will explode." Someone recognized Shen Qingqing and whispered eagerly, "Fairy. Perfect score in the first level, save us." But Zhao Sai interrupted with a grin. "Fairy? You will know that the ants are delusional when the ghosts tear her apart." Shen Qingqing sat down on the stone platform, keeping a low profile and saying nothing. His spiritual consciousness was swept away like a net, and black energy was billowing under the sensing talisman array. Dozens of ghosts were entrenched, and their blood-stained eyes were the remnant souls that Qin Feng had brought from the ghost city. Luo Li whispered in her sleeves, "Be careful, these ghost spirits are fused with Qin Feng ghost pill, and they have peak murderous intent. Prepare the second shot quickly, fuse part of my spiritual consciousness, and the paper talisman formation can kill the group." Examiner Yi Ji appeared, her tall figure wrapped in a green robe, her nascent soul breath was like the sea, her jade face was stern. "The exam begins." She pointed her jade finger, and the blood-red talisman array exploded. A gloomy storm arose, ghosts howled ear-splittingly, dozens of ghosts sprang out like black smoke, their minions were thick, and the fishy wind blew directly towards the candidates. Screams were everywhere, and a boy was the first to bear the brunt. The ghost claws clawed into his shoulders, his flesh and blood rotted, and his soul was dragged out. The screams echoed, "Ah, help! My spiritual consciousness!" His whole body convulsed and he fell to the ground convulsing. The smell of burning was filling the air. The whole place was in chaos, ghosts were like wolves entering the sheep, the candidates were running away in all directions, their spiritual power was exploding randomly, the stone platform was cracked, and rust fragments were flying. The fat boy was attacked by two ghosts. His foundation building shield was shattered like glass, and his face looked desperate. "It's over, we are all cannon fodder." The girl scurried away with her head in her arms. "Zhao Sai, you are not the invigilator? Save people." Zhao Sai sneered and sat cross-legged, with the yin qi on the high platform protecting his body, and the ghosts passed around him. "Save? I'm watching a show." Especially Shen Qingqing, waiting for her to be torn apart. Three ghost spirits locked onto Shen Qingqing, covered in black smoke, bloody claws tearing the air, and the stench of ghost energy filled his nose. She did not dodge, her jade hands trembled slightly, and the golden elixir aura around her body dimmed, as if she was being suppressed. The examinee stared in despair. "The fairy is in danger." The fusion of ghosts and spirits, the peak of foundation building, so what about her golden elixir? Zhao Sai laughed wildly. "Ha ha, look. Commoner fairies have to kneel down too." In the shadow of the distance, Jiu Han's white robe loomed, his sword eyebrows were furrowed, and he held his spiritual stone wallet in his hand, but stopped when he wanted to move. She has pure spiritual consciousness, how can she lose? The ghost claws came close and tore Shen Qingqing's school uniform, blood marks suddenly appeared, and her pretty face turned pale, as if she was in dire straits. Luo Li said urgently, "Injection. Fusion with me." Shen Qingqing's eyes flashed with golden light, and she drew out the second tube of foundation building injection with her right hand. The needle's golden light was dazzling, and the fragrance of the medicine was fragrant. She puffed her arm, and the spiritual fluid surged like a fire dragon. The meridians roared, the golden elixir swirled wildly, the golden light around the body surged, turning into a tornado and soaring into the sky, the iron tiles on the roof exploded, and the debris fell like rain. Boom, the shock wave swept across, the ghost's claws rebounded, flesh and blood exploded, and blood sprayed everywhere. The candidates were stunned, and a girl rubbed her eyes and screamed, She got an injection?" The golden light shot into the sky, and the ghosts were shattered. The fat boy was shocked, and he knelt down in admiration. The fairy reversed. "It's so powerful, that injection is like a miracle medicine." Kai dash, the golden needles were like a heavy rain, the ghosts exploded, and their souls wailed and dissipated. A giant shadow of a foundation building peak ghost spirit appeared, its bloody eyes widened, and it roared and attacked. Reincarnated spirit girl? Qin Shao, you ordered me to swallow your spiritual consciousness. Shen Qingqing sneered, twisting the talisman array. The golden needles gathered into a dragon, and pierced the giant shadow's eyebrows. Boom! The giant shadow exploded, ghost blood flowed like a fountain, and the shock wave shook the high platform. Zhao Sai's shield shattered, and he rolled down in a panic, blood spurting from his mouth, and his eyes stared like bells. No. Impossible. All my ghosts and spirits were wiped out? She slaughtered them all in one go. Shen Qingqing stood up, her long hair flying, and merged with part of Luo Li's spiritual consciousness, forming a sea of consciousness like a vast ocean. The jade fingers connected the dots, and the spiritual light at the fingertips condensed on the paper. Dozens of talisman papers floated out like snow, and the runes glowed brightly. Talisman paper array, sea of knowledge and slaying spirits. The talisman papers rotated into an array, buzzing like thunder, absorbing the black energy of ghosts and spirits, and turning into thousands of golden needles. The ghosts roared and rushed at them, but they were pierced by golden needles. The blood mist exploded, the stench steamed, and the stone platform was dyed red. There was dead silence, and then there was wild shouting. The fat boy came with tears streaming down his face and crawled over on his knees. Fairy, help me. The power of the golden needle, we are all alive. The girls looked wildly and screamed. The paper talisman formation, ancient level. Zhao Sai's ghost is gone. Yi Ji Yuanying's breath trembled slightly, her jade face was shocked. Her beard was not beard but it was upside down. A new student is actually gifted with this talisman formation? Integrated with spiritual consciousness, the injection is instantaneous. Monster! Shen Qingqing stepped on the ghost blood and glanced at Zhao Sai with disdain. Where did Qin Feng's lackeys and ghosts' ambush come from? She searched with her spiritual sense, pulled out a fragment of Qin Feng's ghost pill, and held it up to the audience. See clearly. Qin Feng controls the remaining spirits of the ghost city, intending to eliminate all living beings and dominate the academy. This ghost pill, the anger is overwhelming, the evidence is solid. Zhao Sai stood up and said tremblingly, "You are so angry." But the candidates shouted, "Why are you talking back?" The fat boy kicked Zhao Sai. "Qin Feng's conspiracy, fairy, get out." Ji Yuhan couldn't help it any longer. His white robe came through the air, his sword sounded clear, and his spiritual stone wallet was projected into the sky with blue light. "Fairy Shen, your magical skills are amazing. Ji Yuhan's family, please help." He scanned the QR code to transfer money, and 100,000 spiritual stones poured into Shen Qingqing's wallet like a river. There was a constant tinkling sound, and the upgraded crystals shone. Her wallet was full, and her realm was faintly touching the edge of nascent soul. The candidates gasped, "Jiyu Shaowansha transfers money?" The young master of the aristocratic family openly takes sides. The girl's eyes turned from envy to admiration. The charm of the fairy, even Ji Yuhan is impressed. The civilians counterattack, the trend of the college has changed. Yi Ji's figure flashed, hunting in green robes, with jade hands suppressing Zhao Sai, with a voice like thunder. Qin Feng's gang members abolished their cultivation, and put them in a ghost prison. She turned to Shen Qingqing, her eyes burning with admiration. "Shen Qingqing, the paper talisman formation slaughtered the ghosts, saved more than 80 candidates, and did a great job in exposing the conspiracy. I, Yi Ji, will accept you as my personal disciple." The whole audience was in an uproar, and the candidates knelt down and said, "Sir, the fairy is so successful, we will follow you." Zhao Sai was dragged away, his eyes were filled with hatred, and he murmured, "Boss, she has done something bad." Shen Qingqing smiled lightly and nodded, her aura as high as the sky. Thank you, Brother Jiu. Qin Feng is young and his spiritual stone is like dust, so there is nothing to say. She waved her jade hand, and the remaining ghost energy was swept away, and the golden light protected the whole audience. The candidates were bathed in it, their injuries healed instantly, and they cheered loudly. Wei Xian, you are the master. From now on, you have a master in the world of immortality. Yi Ji pulled her into the high platform and whispered in his ear, I will give you the secret of the advanced talisman of soul explosion formation, but be careful, the ghost city forces behind Qin Feng are about to counterattack. Yi Jiqing waved his robe, and the remaining ghost blood in the abandoned warehouse dissipated like a tide. Burnt smelly heat steamed up from the rusty ground, mixed with the medicinal fragrance of the golden needle talisman paper. The pungent smell made the surviving candidates intoxicated. The lingering sound of the bell echoed, and more than 80 freshmen knelt down. The fat boy's nose was filled with tears, and his voice trembled like a candle in the wind. Fairy. We were cannon fodder, and our souls were in danger, but because of your golden light, we are all alive. From now on, we will follow you and swear loyalty to the death. The girls' eyes were wild, and their skirts were stained with blood, but they didn't care. They screamed in unison, only Fairy Shen follows the lead. Qin Feng Jiao Sai, get out of the college. On a tall building in the distance, Qin Feng's black robe was torn, his bloody eyes bulged, his fist hit the railing, and iron filings flew. Shen Qingqing. The talisman slaughters my ghost group and ruins my plan. Lord Ghost King, start the second step, open the ghost city, and make her cemetery come true. Deep in the ghost city, the pulsation in her eyes intensified, and a sinister smile echoed. Ling Ji, come to the core of the ghost city, fuse with me. The bell in the examination room rang again, and the storm started again. Shen Qingqing's eyes boiled with fighting spirit, the residual heat of the injection has not dissipated, the golden elixir roared, and the power of self-dominance has begun to show its formidable power. In the secret room, the spiritual lamp is dimly blue, the walls are engraved with runes and veins like living creatures squirming, and the fragrance of ink and spiritual energy are intertwined in the air. Yi Ji sat cross-legged on the futon, casting a long shadow with her tall figure. She pointed her jade finger, and a stack of gold-rimmed talisman appeared in the air. The runes were like dragons and snakes swimming around. Qingqing, the soul explosion formation is a forbidden technique in the academy. The talisman cheats and upgrades, killing the same level instantly. However, Qin Feng's gang members are everywhere, you need to be low-key. Be careful, the sea of consciousness attracts the spirit, and the paper becomes a formation of eyes. Her eyes flashed, and the spiritual consciousness poured into the talisman paper. The paper buzzed and expanded 100 times. The golden light burst out, and the stone wall of the secret room cracked like rain, and the roar was deafening. Shen Qingqing's jade hands trembled slightly, and the sea of consciousness fused with Luo Li's spiritual consciousness rolled like a tsunami. She took out her wallet and scanned the code. Jiu hands hundreds of thousands of spiritual stones poured out like a galaxy, and the tinkling sound was endless. By high-grade talisman ink, spirit beast blood essence, and formation foundation crystal stone. The wallet projection flickered, and the materials appeared on the desk. The smell of blood and the cold crystal stone hit her nostrils. She drew the gourd in the same way, and touched the paper with her fingertips. The runes were just completed, but she suddenly went berserk, and black energy rushed out like ghost claws hitting her face. Yi Ji's face turned pale, and he shouted urgently, "Stop! The sea of consciousness is impure, and the formation will backfire." Shen Qingqing's pretty face was pale, her meridians were burning like fire, and she seemed to be in a desperate situation. The aura around her body was dim, the talisman was burned to ashes, and her skin was reddened by the heat wave. Shen Qingqing stepped on a pool of blood, her long hair danced with golden light, the 100,000 spiritual stones in her wallet buzzed like a beehive, and her realm faintly collided with the nascent soul pass. She glanced at everyone indifferently, and her voice was as cold as a sword. Get up. The weak will kill themselves on the road to cultivating immortals. If you want to follow, you must prove your worth first. The candidates were shocked, and the fat boy got up, his fat face flushed. The fairy trial. The competition is about to begin, how dare we slack off? Yi Jiu's face was slightly red, and the nascent soul's breath suppressed the noise, and pulled Shen Qingqing into the secret room on the high platform. The door closed with a bang, blocking out the frenzy outside. In the secret room, Shen Qingqing gritted his teeth and drew out the third tube of foundation building injection with lightning in his right hand. The golden light of the needle pierced the blue light, and the fragrance of the medicine was as rich as orchid. She plunged into her arm with a puff, and the spiritual liquid fire dragon ran wildly. The golden elixir whirled, fused with Luo Li's spiritual consciousness and skyrocketed. The sea of consciousness turned into a golden ocean, and the waves crashed against the talisman ash residue. Boom, the talisman paper was reborn, the gold edge skyrocketed 10 feet, and the soul explosion formed. Ghosts appeared in the formation, wails echoed, deep pits exploded in the stone walls, smoke filled the air, and rubble was shot out like projectiles. Yi Yuanying's breath trembled, her jade face was horrified, and her beard was raised up. The 3-needle instant melting forbidden technique? The sea of consciousness is like an abyss, and the talisman array generates its own spirituality. Monster, a born talisman. When the candidates outside heard the muffled sound in the secret room, their expressions suddenly changed. The fat boy knelt down with weak legs. Fairy, nothing will happen, right? The soul explosion formation and the nascent soul forbidden technique, how can a new student control it? A tall and thin cultivator sneered and whispered, Humph, the common people are delusional and will self-destruct sooner or later. Although Zhao Sai is useless, Qin Feng is still here, Xiaobai will crush her to death. The girls hugged each other and trembled, with tears in their eyes. Senior sister, we are waiting for Xiaobai to witness the power. Yi Jila pulled Shen Qingqing out of the room, her voice trembling slightly. The competition is about to open, the Academy Square. There are many casual cultivators, Qin Feng's gangsters are hiding, use the soul explosion array to conquer them. Remember, keep a low profile and despise. In the square, the sun is high, the spiritual wind is mixed with the smell of sweat and the crisp sound of spiritual stones rubbing. Thousands of casual cultivators are sitting on the stone steps. There are many people building the peak of the foundation, and they are as imposing as a pack of wolves. Host Zhu Ji shouted, Xiaobai draws lots. The winner enters the inner gate, and the loser sweeps to the edge of the ghost town. Shen Qingqing sat down, the afterglow of the wallet spirit stone flickering, attracting side glances. The opponent in the first round was Li Meng, a snobbish casual cultivator. In the late stage of foundation building, his muscles were taut and he stepped on the stage with a ferocious smile. Shen Qingqing? It's just luck to kill ghosts. I'm invincible with the ghost fist, so I'll take your punch. The casual cultivators in the audience laughed loudly. Fine. Folk fairy? Li Meng smashed the rocks with his fist, crushing the insects. The fat boy and other survivors turned pale, clenched their fists and said tremblingly, Fairy, be careful, Li Meng Qin Feng's old team. Shen Qingqing lowered his head and said nothing, as if he was shrinking, his aura dim. Li Meng laughed wildly and rushed at him, the black air of the ghost fist billowed, the fishy wind hit his nostrils, and the wind of the fist tore through the air with a whooshing sound. The whole audience was in an uproar. She's not moving? It's over, even the golden elixir peak can't bear it. Ji Han was hidden in a white robe on the high platform, his eyebrows were furrowed, and he was holding his wallet in his hand. A golden light flashed in Shen Qingqing's eyes, and with a flick of her jade finger, a piece of soul explosion talisman paper quietly floated out, with the runes invisible. Boom! The talisman exploded, and the moment Li Meng's ghost fist touched it, the black energy backfired, the flesh of his fist exploded, blood mist sprayed, and bone slag splashed. He howled miserably and retreated, his face distorted like a ghost. Ah, my fist! The talisman array counterattacks, the invisible soul explodes. Shen Qingqing stood up and sneered, "Ant?" With a finger, the remaining talisman was strangled, Li Meng's soul exploded, and his body fell to the ground black and filled with a scorched smell. There was dead silence in the audience, and then there was an earthquake-like roar. The fat boy burst into tears and knelt down. One talisman instantly kills the late stage of foundation building. The fairy cheated with his magical skill, and Li Meng was so snobbish that he knelt down. The tall and thin casual cultivator glared, and his teeth chattered. The soul of the hidden talisman exploded. We, the casual cultivators, are all in the server. Girls screamed around, "Win streak." The fairy is the only one. Li Meng was old friends turned pale and knelt down one after another. Fairy Shen, spare your life. We were wrong, the snobbery will be loyal from now on. Shen Qingqing glanced contemptuously, come here and sweep my camp. More than 10 casual cultivators crawled to pledge their allegiance, and a small team was initially formed. The fat boy shouted excitedly, team expansion. Civilian counterattack. After winning 3 games in a row, the talismans were fired continuously, and the souls exploded like rain. Every time an enemy was exploded, flesh and blood flew everywhere, and the screams shook the sky. The opponent, a peak-level foundation builder, taunted him first, "Little by toy, are you teasing with talismans?" But he was immediately strangled, corpses scattered everywhere, and blood stained the table. The eyes of the casual cultivators turned from contempt to fear and then to enthusiasm, and they knelt down one after another. Fairy Fu Zun. Qin Feng doesn't matter, only your horse head. Ji Han couldn't help it anymore, his white robe stepped into the air, and his sword screamed loudly, "Qingqing, magical skills are all over the city." Jiu family information, outside Qin Feng Ghost City, at night attack the academy, target your spiritual consciousness. His eyes flashed softly, and his voice was low, "I have been happy with you for a long time. The resources of the family are at your disposal." The wallet transferred another 500,000 spirit stones, and Shen Qingqing's wallet was full of energy, and his realm reached the early stage of yuanying. The door exploded, smoke and dust flew out, the examinees stared as if they were seeing ghosts, the fat boy rubbed his eyes and screamed, "The fairy talisman formation, the secret room is half destroyed." Senior Sister Yi's eyes are like seeing a god. The tall and thin casual cultivator opened his mouth in an O shape, and his legs shook like a sieve. It just backfired, and she reversed it with an acupuncture. The common people are defiant, cheating on the talisman paper. How can we casual cultivators deserve it? The girls shouted and knelt down. The fairy's personal inheritance, the power of the soul explosion formation. Xiaobi is invincible. As night falls, the lights in the college dormitory are swaying, and the spiritual wind is mixed with the cold night dew. Shen Qingqing sat cross-legged, frantically scanning his wallet for spiritual stones to buy talisman materials. They were piled up like a mountain, and the scent of ink filled the air. Luo Li's translucent figure appeared, with a fairy-like appearance, and a voice like a silver bell. "My lord, here is the map of the ghost city. Qin Feng controls the Edge Ghost Realm, and there are thousands of ghost soldiers. The night attack is coming, pointing directly at the core of your spiritual consciousness. Fusion of my whole spiritual consciousness, you can slaughter the territory. She waved her jade hand, and projected the entire map of the ghost city in the air. Black mist rolled, blood eyes loomed, and the coldness was biting. The casual cultivators in the audience gasped, "Young Master Gu's confession? 500,000 spirit stones." The young master of the aristocratic family, openly begging for a match. The girl screamed with envy. Jiyu Han is impressed by the charm of the fairy. Small team, from the support of this aristocratic family. Yi Jiqing robed hunting, with a jade face, pleased. Qingqing, the status is reversed. The casual cultivators follow, Jiyu family allies, Qin Feng Shao is nothing to be afraid of. Qin Feng was hunting in a tall building in the distance, his blood-stained eyes bulging, and his fist hit the iron railing with a clang and shattered. Shen Qingqing's talisman paper wins in a row, collect the loose cultivators? Jiyu Han stands in line. Outside the ghost city, listen to the order, the academy night attack, swallow her spiritual consciousness with all its strength. On the edge of the ghost domain, a black tide of ghost soldiers surges, with claws and claws, the fishy wind howls, and the night sky is filled with blood clouds. Outside the dormitory, a dark wind suddenly rose, ghosts howled faintly, Shen Qingqing squeezed the talisman in her hand, golden light shot into the sky, and the team roared, "Kill!" The storm started again, a night attack broke out, and the battle of spiritual consciousness was about to break out. Outside the dormitory, the cold wind was like a knife, ghost howls tore through the night sky, and the stench of blood and putrefaction assaulted the nostrils, mixed with the damp and cold smell of rolling soil. The black tide of ghosts poured in from the ghost gate at the edge of the academy. Their claws were as dense as iron hooks. Their red eyes flashed with hungry green light. The stone path they stepped on shattered into pieces. Thousands of ghosts squeezed into waves and crashed into the vigil of the casual cultivators. The fat boy swung his sword and trembled. The light of the sword was as dim as a candle, and his voice was crackling, "Fairy. There are thousands of ghosts and soldiers, the peak of Foundation building is here, Qin Feng is crazy." The tall and thin cultivator knelt down with weak legs, his trousers were wet, and his teeth were chattering, "It's over. Our small team became cannon fodder as soon as we pledged our allegiance. The gate of hell is wide open, and all spiritual consciousness is swallowed up." The girls hugged each other and screamed, their skirts were torn by the ghost wind, revealing blood stains. "Fairy, help me. Where is Xiaobi's power?" The ghost soldiers rushed forward, scratching the fat boy's shoulders with sharp claws, the flesh and blood rolled sizzling, and the black energy penetrated into the meridians. He fell to the ground howling miserably, his face as yellow as a corpse. The soul is melting. The whole team collapsed, and the scattered cultivators fled in all directions. The wave of ghosts swallowed more than 10 people like a tsunami, the sound of cracking bones continued, and the blood mist filled the night sky, with a pungent sweet taste. The rebellious students were hiding in the dark and snickering, while a short and fat Qin Feng accomplice laughed ferociously. "Shen Qingqing is pretending to be a ghost, she is just luckier than a talisman." The ghost soldiers swallowed her spiritual consciousness. Master Qin takes revenge. They helped the ghosts with their swords, chopped down 2 loyal cultivators, and ridiculed everyone. Common fairies? Kneel down and lick Master Qin, stay alive. Shen Qingqing stepped out of the dormitory, her long hair fluttering in the golden light, but her jade face was as pale as paper. The spiritual pressure in the early stage of nascent soul seemed to be suppressed by the ghost tide, and the spiritual light around her body was trembling. She lowered her head to hold the talisman and her hand trembled slightly, and her voice was weak. "Luo Li, is the information accurate?" Luo Li's translucent figure appeared beside her, her fairy posture trembling, and the sound of the silver bell sounded like a cry. Master, there are 3 ghost sects, the first wave of 100,000 ghosts, directly consuming the spiritual consciousness. Your fusion cannot stable, the backlash is faint. The rest of the team was desperate when they saw this, and the fat boy crawled and begged, Fairy, is it time to show off? We believe you. The tall and thin cultivator was filled with urine and choked. Otherwise, Qin Feng's gang members have rebelled, and the academy is over. The ghost tide approaches 100 feet, and the leader of the ghost soldiers is at the peak of the foundation building. He is covered in black armor. His giant claws swing and throw up rocks and gravel like projectiles that fly, hissing, cracking the walls of the dormitory, and smashing bricks and smoke in the face. Shen Qingqing seemed to be in a desperate situation, taking half a step back, beads of sweat rolling down her pretty face, her wallet buzzing but unable to make purchases. The rebellious pudgy student laughed wildly and rushed forward. In the middle stage of foundation building, the ghost sword struck with black light. Die, you talisman waste. The whole audience was in an uproar. The team closed their eyes and waited for death. The fairy is no match, attacked the academy at night. Just as the blade of the blade reached her neck, Shen Qingqing's eyes flashed with golden light, and she drew out the 4th tube of foundation building injection with lightning in her right hand. The golden light of the needle pierced the blood cloud, and the fragrance of the medicine was as rich as ambergris saliva. Phut, she stabbed the shoulder well hard. The spiritual liquid fire dragon rushed through the meridians, the golden elixir roared like thunder, and the spiritual consciousness of Luo Li increased 100 times. The sea of consciousness turns into a golden galaxy, the waves hit the ghost tide, the middle stage of the nascent soul is instantly formed, the golden robes hunt around the body, and the spiritual pressure is like a mountain toppling. The squat traitor's knife stopped mid-air, his pupils shrank, and his voice trembled like chaff. Injection. Injection rush? Middle stage of nascent soul. Are you hiding your cultivation? Shen Qingqing sneered, flicked his jade finger, and 3 soul explosion talisman papers floated out. The runes were hidden like dragons and snakes. Ants, kneel down. Boom, boom, boom. The talisman exploded, and the soul explosion formed into a field. The moment the ghost soldiers' forward 1,000 heads touched, the black energy counterattacked, the carapace exploded with a pop, green blood fountains shot out, and the wailing shook the sky like the wails of thousands of ghosts. The pudgy traitor bore the brunt of the attack. The ghost knife was broken, his soul exploded into smoke, and his body was charred and rolled to the ground, with a burning smell. His old friend's eyes bulged, and his knees went limp. Fairy Shen, spare your life. Qin Feng forced us to rebel, snobbery is wrong. The fat boy rubbed his eyes and got up, nosebleeds flowed wildly, and his voice trembled with ecstasy. For Needle's monster. 1 talisman seals 1,000 ghosts, a fairy defies heaven. The tall and thin cultivator burst into tears and hugged his legs. It's worth peeing your pants. The team is immortal, the traitor kneels down to lick. The girls screamed wildly, the magic injection skill, the soul blast seals the door. Only the fairy is the master. Shen Qingqing stepped on a pool of blood, and his wallet scanned the QR code. The afterglow of Gu Han's 500,000 spirit stones poured out, and he bought hundreds of high-end talismans instantly. Array base expansion. The talisman papers poured down like rain, and the soul explosion arrays continued. The edge of the ghost door locked with a bang, and the black mist solidified like an iron wall. The first wave of ghosts collided and exploded into bloody mud, bone residues splashed like rain, and the fishy wind turned into a medicinal heat wave. More than 20 rebellious students turned pale and threw their knives and knelt down. Join the team. Eliminate Qin Feng's gang members and be loyal to Fu Zun. Shen Qingqing glanced with disdain. Prove your worth and hold the line. They crawled to fill their positions, and the small team expanded to 100 people. The fat boy shouted excitedly, "The guards have surged. Civilians counterattack, the ghost gate is blocked." In the main hall in the distance, Yi Jiqing robe hunted. Yuanying's spiritual pressure was like a tide, and his jade hand waved the golden needle talisman array to seal the second ghost gate. The collision of the ghost soldiers was like thunder, the walls of the palace were cracked, and smoke and dust filled the air. Jiyu Han's white robe stepped into the air, his sword sounded clear, the sword light was like the Milky Way, killing hundreds of ghosts, and the blood mist steamed. "Senior Sister Yi, hold the main hall. The Qingqing injection is rushing, my information is correct." Yi Jiyu's face was red, her eyes flickered, and her tall figure cast a long shadow. "Young Master Gu's confession is alluring, and the resources are all. Qingqing monster, with the backing of your family, we have formed a bond. However, Qin Feng is at the entrance of the ghost city, Luo Li transmission, he holds the palm of his hand." Jiyu Han raised his sword eyebrows and kept making ding sounds while holding the wallet in his hands. "Another 500,000. I will help you with the fusion of Qingqing spiritual consciousness. I will not regret it and join forces to kill the ghosts." Yi Ji nodded, waved his green robe, and the ghosts retreated. The lights in the main hall were bright, and the two looked at each other in a tacit understanding. If the academy is not destroyed, Qin Feng will die. Shen Qingqing's eyes boiled with fighting spirit, and he took out the fourth injection. The golden light of the needle illuminated the night. "Okay. Expand the stage, the core of the ghost town, wait for me." Outside the small team, the casual cultivators kept vigil, and the fat boy clenched his fists and whispered, "Fairy team, we have gone from cannon fodder to bodyguards." The tall and thin casual cultivator's eyes were fanatical. Snobbish eyes repent, only fairies dominate. The aftermath of the locked gate of ghosts has not yet dissipated, and the third wave of black tide explodes, and the middle-level ghosts will appear. At the peak of Foundation Building, a corpse was wrapped in black armor, its arms were like iron pillars, its claws and teeth were dripping with green pus, and it smelled like a mountain of rotting corpses. It roared and shook the ground. Qin Feng ordered, "Swallow up the spiritual consciousness." Its giant claws smashed in, and the ground sank into a pit 10 feet deep, with gravel like cannonballs were fired indiscriminately. The team's casual cultivators turned pale, and the fat boy's legs were weak. The ghost general is invincible. Xiaobi is 10 times the peak, fairy. The ghost general smiled ferociously and threw himself at Shen Qingqing. The wind from his claws tore through the air, whooshing, and the smell of blood was strong and nauseating. The whole team closed their eyes in despair. It's over. No matter how strong the injection is, it can't withstand the body of the ghost general. Shen Qingqing lowered his head and said nothing, as if he was shrinking, and his aura dimmed. The ghost will laugh wildly and drop its claws 3 inches from the neck. The team screamed, "Fairy!" At this moment, the gold in her eyes shot out, the fifth needle pricked herself, the spiritual fluid rushed out, and the late nascent soul was instantly formed. Integrated with Luo Li's full spiritual consciousness, the sea of consciousness is like a boundless golden sea, and the waves beat against the souls of ghost generals. "Get out!" With a jade footstep, hundreds of soul explosion talismans exploded. The ghost general's black armor exploded inch by inch, green blood poured down like rain, and bones and flesh evaporated with a snap, wailing like thunder. Impossible. The injection fuses, the spiritual consciousness kills the soul. It stepped back 1,000 steps, its arms were charred and broken, and it knelt down and trembled. Spare your life." Shen Qingqing pointed a cold finger, strangled the remaining talisman, the ghost exploded his head, the soul's blue smoke dissipated, the body hit the ground with a boom, the shock wave spread hundreds of feet, and the stinking heat wave hit his face. The small team was dead silent, and then an earthquake broke out and screamed wildly. The fat boy knelt down with tears streaming down his face, his fat face twisted in ecstasy. 5 needles are invincible. The ghost will be crushed instantly, the fairy will kill the god. The tall and thin cultivator stared and rubbed his arms, his voice hoarse. The physical body is not broken, the talisman and consciousness are fused? We, the personal guards, are the witnesses. Legend. The rebel recruit's mouth was in an O shape and his teeth were chattering. Qin Feng's gangsters are heartbroken. Only Fairy's head is so loyal. The girls hugged each other and screamed, but their clothes were stained with blood. The team is invincible, waiting to be killed. Luo Li's figure flashed back to Shen Qingqing's side. The translucent jade hand projection updated the ghost picture. The black mist rolled more violently, and the blood eyes pulsated. Lord, the first wave retreats. Qin Feng's entrance appears. The middle-level ghost commander protects the law. The target is the sea. Shen Qingqing's fighting spirit boiled, and the jade hand pinched holding the 5th tube of injection, hidden in Jiyu Han's gift bag. The cold light of the needle reflected the blood cloud. Expand the fusion. Team, let me crush you. The small team roared in unison, and the fat boy charged with his sword. Kill the ghost fairy. The tall and thin casual cultivator said enthusiastically, the traitor fills the position, all servers. At the entrance of the ghost city in the distance, the black fog intensified. Qin Feng's black-robed hunter appeared. His blood-stained eyes bulged, and he punched the void and shattered it with a click. Shen Qingqing's 5-needle monster? The ghost will die instantly. The middle-level ghost commander, follow the order, go out and swallow her sea of consciousness. The ghost commander's sinister smile emerged, the nascent soul's aura was strong, and his black claws tore through the air. The bloodthirsty clouds were overwhelming, and they roared straight into the academy. Little girl, the spiritual consciousness belongs to me. The team's expressions changed again, and the fat boy clenched his fists and trembled. The ghost commander is coming, big crisis. Shen Qingqing's hand pulled out the 6th needle, golden light shot into the sky, and the fighting spirit was like fire. Come. The night sky thundered, and the spiritual consciousness massacre was about to break out. The dark shadow of the ghost commander is like a mountain pressing on the top. The spiritual pressure of the early stage of the nascent soul is like a sea of ink. The fishy wind carries the stench of rotting corpses. Green pus drips from the claws and teeth, sizzling and corrodes the stone ground, and the green smoke rises to pungent the nostrils. The blood clouds hung low in the night sky, and the thunder was rolling. It laughed ferociously and roared. Qin Feng Lord gave the order. Shen Qingqing's spiritual consciousness, swallow it all. The giant claw tore through the void, and with a hissed sound, 100-foot air wave was like a knife, hitting the front line outside the dormitory. The faces of the 200 personal guards were pale, the fat boy's fat face was distorted, the sword fell to the ground with a clang sound, and his voice trembled like the wind. Zhong Kanye, Ghost. Ghost Commander Yuanying. Even the 5-needle divine power of the fairy can't withstand the immortality of this physical body? Our 200 personal guards have become blood-eating. The tall and thin Sanshio sat down with weak legs, urine stains spread on his trousers, and his teeth were chattering. It's over. The soul explosion formation locks the ghost soldiers and generals, and the middle-level ghost commander swallows his consciousness like drinking water. Qin Feng is crazy, the college is dead. The girls hugged each other and screamed, their skirts were stained with blood, and their pale calves were trembling. Fairy. No matter how fierce the little talisman is, it can't stop the nascent soul claw. The old friend of the new rebel member stared and backed away, and the short man murmured, young ghost Qin is invincible. Shen Qingqing is pretending to be cool, run. They turned around and tried to escape. staggering and crushing the bones of the ghost soldiers with a crunching sound, and blood and mud splashed all over the soles of their shoes. Luo Li's translucent figure flickered uncertainly, and the silver bell trembled. "My lord, the Ghost Commander's spiritual consciousness specializes in devouring reincarnated people. Your fusion is unstable, and the backlash is faint. Retreat to the dormitory?" Shen Qingqing holds the sixth needle in her hand. Her pretty face pales with golden light, and her whole body is full of energy. The aura dimmed slightly in the late stage of her infancy, as if she was being pressed down by a ghost. She took half a step back, her long hair stuck to her cheeks with sweat, and her voice was low. "Steady the formation, don't panic." The whole place was dead silent, and the guards closed their eyes in despair. "Fairy is shrinking?" "The limit of the injection, the night attack breaks the defense." The Ghost Commander laughed wildly and jumped forward. The wind from his claws stirred up rocks and gravel like bullets and hissed at them, smashing through the chests of the three of them. The blood mist exploded and filled their nostrils with a fishy sweetness. They screamed loudly, "The soul is broken." The fat boy bore the brunt. The flesh on his shoulders turned sizzling, and the black energy drilled into his veins. He knelt down. Squirming, his fat face was sallow. "Fairy, we believed wrong." The Ghost Commander was 10 feet away from Shen Qingqing. His blood eyes were locked on the sea of consciousness, and his golden pupils were bulging. "Little girl, reincarnated spiritual consciousness, delicious." The claws fell like falling stars, the ground cracked with a rumbling, deep groove, and the heat wave burned the skin. Just between her claws and hair, Shen Qingqing's eyes were filled with golden light like stars, and lightning struck her for the 6th time in her right hand. Phut, the spiritual liquid fire dragon rushed wildly, the meridians roared like thunder, the golden elixir shattered and fused with Luo Li's 70% spiritual consciousness, and the peak of nascent soul was instantly achieved. But Gui Shuai's claws refused to retreat, and the aura cracked under pressure. Her pretty face turned pale again, as if the needle effect was not fully effective. Luo Li exclaimed, "The master's past life has backfired." The guard opened his eyes in despair. 6 needles are not enough? Gui Shuai suppressed, the fairy's aura shattered. At the entrance of Qin Feng's ghost city in the distance, the black-robed hunter smiled ferociously, his blood-stained eyes flashing. "Stop the evildoer. Ghost Shuai swallows it, revenge is done." Shen Qingqing gritted his teeth and instantly drew the 7th needle with his left hand, the 2nd tube of Jiu Han's hidden gift package. The silver light of the needle pierced the blood cloud, and the fragrance of the medicine filled the air like phoenix marrow. Strike! The 2 spiritual dragons merged, the sea of consciousness surged, Luo Li's spiritual consciousness was 90% integrated, and fragments of ancient spiritual memory flashed. Thousands of talisman soldiers, massacre in the ghost realm. The spiritual pressure at the peak of nascent soul was reversed, and the Ghost Commander's claws were stagnant. Its blood-stained eyes shrank. Acupuncture, continuous dose? Acceleration of fusion? The guard rubbed his eyes and stood dumbfounded. The fat boy's face was stained with blood, and his voice was hoarse. 7 needles magic. The fairy will not fall, but it will backfire on the Ghost Commander? The tall and thin casual cultivator stood up in tears. The legend of diapers continues. But, it's still suppressed. The Ghost Commander roared and dropped his giant claw again, cracking the edge of the soul explosion formation. With a boom, 10 talisman papers flew into ashes. The heat wave hit his face with a burning smell. The 5 bodyguards evaporated into blood and mud, and bone residues splashed like rain. When the team was on the verge of collapse, the girl screamed, "Fairy can't hold on." Qin Feng Sheng. Shen Qingqing roared and pulled out the 8th needle. The wallet dinged. Jiu Han made an emergency transfer to unlock the final hidden tube, and the golden light shot into the sky like the sun. Melt. With 3 consecutive needles, the spiritual liquid turned into a golden river and poured over the whole body. Luo Li's entire spiritual consciousness suddenly merged into one, and his ancient cultivation awakened, the ghost city overlord's legacy, and his spiritual consciousness turned into a boundless sea. In the early stage of becoming a god, the spiritual pressure explodes, like a heavenly disaster overturning, the golden light in the night sky tears apart the blood clouds, and the thunder transforms into a dragon. The ghost commander's claws cracked, the black armor cracked, and green blood fountains shot out. It knelt down and retreated 1,000 feet, and its voice trembled like a ghost crying, "In ancient times, spiritual consciousness slaughters souls? Impossible. Master Qin Feng, save." Shen Qingqing stood up with a sneer, hunting in gold robes, with runes all over his body like a dragon. With a wave of his jade hand, hundreds of soul-exploding talisman papers instantly transformed into magic weapons, thousands of talisman swords, and sword energy poured out like the Milky Way. Slaughter. Boom, boom, boom. The talisman sword penetrated the ghost commander's body, and the black energy came back, and the bones and flesh evaporated sizzlingly, and he screamed loudly, "Spiritual consciousness is shattered, spare your life." The head exploded, the soul's green smoke was swallowed up by the golden sea, the body hit the ground with a boom, and the pit was hundreds of feet away, the stinking heat wave swept across the entire place, and green blood flowed like a river and pungent. The whole place was dead silent. The 200 bodyguards stared with bulging eyes. The fat boy had an O-shaped mouth, nosebleeds spurted out and knelt down. 8 needles are invincible. 3 doses of madness, ancient awakening, talisman soldiers slaughter gods. Fairies, transform into gods. The tall and thin cultivator's legs went weak and he held his head, his voice trembled with ecstasy. The ghost commander is instantly evaporated. We guards, witness the miracle. Qin Feng is finished. Girl, she burst into tears and screamed, dancing in a bloody dress. Only fairies dominate, in heaven and on earth. The new and old friends of the rebels prostrated, and the short man kowtowed and bleeds, snobbish and blind. Allegiance is awakened, and you will never rebel. Luo Li's figure solidified into 3 parts, and she knelt and floated. The master is fully integrated, the overlord from the previous life has returned. The ghost map has been updated, Qin Feng has been exposed. At the entrance of Qin Feng Ghost City, black robes were like ink, blood-stained pupils shrank like needles, the fist hit the void and then shattered with a click, the voice changed from a ferocious smile to a trembling voice, Shen Qingqing. Transformed into a magic talisman soldier? The ghost commander is dead. Party members, retreat. More than 20 of his party members turned pale, and their legs went weak in the middle of the escape. The short and fat old friend turned around and ran away on his knees. Young Master Qin, abandon your soldiers. Fairy Shen, join Lingxing. Qin Feng gritted his teeth and escaped. Entering the black mist, the distant messenger smiled sinisterly. Shen Qingqing, the ghost king is reincarnated and summoned, the big family helps me. The remaining forces knelt down. Shen Qingqing glanced with disdain, and the jade voice sounded like thunder. Promote loyalty, the Lingxing sect is established. The civilians counterattack, slay the ghosts and dominate. The guards roared together, and the fat boy shook his fist. Lingxing sect. Fairy sect master. The team surged by 300, the front line was golden, and the college lights were bright again. Jiu Hen came through the air with his white robe, his sword rang clear and he stopped, his eyes were as tender as water, and his wallet, ding-ding, exploded and turned into millions of spirit stones. Qingqing, 3 needles admire. Family alliance, full ownership of the clan. He knelt down on one knee, white robe spilled blood on the ground, and said in a low voice, I am happy with the evildoer, join hands to slay the Ghost King. Yi Jiqing's tall figure in green robe flashed beside the main hall, with the afterglow of the golden needle array. Flashing, her jade face blushed in admiration. Qingqing, the power of the world. I am the master of the sect, and the talisman will teach you the ultimate realm. She waved her green sleeves, and the casual cultivators in the college heard the wind, and thousands of people gathered to kneel and worship. Song Zong, awaken the spirit. The remnants of Qin Feng have been wiped out. The whole audience was shocked. The faces of the rich second-generation dignitaries were ashen. They used to mock the casual cultivators and now prostrate themselves. Common fairies? You ants regret it. Shen Qingqing sat in the middle of a pool of blood. The sea of golden consciousness calmed down. The residual effect of the three needles was like a warm current patrolling the pulse. The spiritual stones in his wallet were piled high, and he bought high-grade talisman ink with the blood essence of spirit beasts. Luo Li projected a ghost picture and chuckled. Your Majesty, the 3 gates of the Ghost Gate are sealed, and the college is stable. Qin Feng escapes from the Ghost City, the remaining 300 men are collected, and the Soul Awakening sect is formed. The fat boy crawled closer and held the blood pill in his fat hand. Fairy trims it, the guards are guarding each other. The tall and thin cultivator Fen Lingxi whispered excitedly, brothers in the sect are here. The talisman cheats are invincible. The girls sat around and sewed, their eyes adoring. The injections are soaring, the sect master will live forever. A short period of tranquility fell, the night wind turned cooler, the blood faded away, and the fragrance of medicine filled the air. Shen Qingqing closed her eyes and took stock. The 8 needles were fused, the ancient cultivation was stable, the spiritual consciousness was like a sea and could kill thousands of ghosts. 2 million spiritual stones, the talisman formations could be used as desired. The Lingxing sect's 300 iron guards, backed by the Jiyuhan family, and personally taught by Master Yi Ji. With a smile on her pretty face, her jade hand caressed her wallet. Excellent. Jiyuhan stood by his side, his white robe reflecting the moon, and whispered, Qingqing, rest. I will protect you with my sword. Yi Jiqing, sitting cross-legged in his green robe, passed on the needle technique. Sect master, from the Fuji lineage, I will pass it on. The lights of the whole college flickered, and the guards whispered wildly, the spirit is undefeated, and the ghost city is waiting to be slaughtered. The fat boy rubbed his fat belly and smiled stupidly. From Kenan fodder to Zhongwei, the fairy has changed the world. While being repaired, Luo Li's figure suddenly trembled, and the silver bell rang urgently. My lord. In the core of the ghost city, the blood eyes are pulsing. The Ghost King is reincarnated and summoned. Qin Feng asks for help from the big family. The dark tide rises again, and all ghosts gather together devour. The earth's veins rumbled, black mist seeped out from the depths of the academy, and the bloody wind struck again. Thousands of ghosts howled like a tsunami in the distance. Spiritual consciousness. Swallow it all. Shen Qingqing's eyes opened, golden light burst, and the jade hand pinched the hidden tube. Come and kill. The aftershocks of the earth's rumbling have not subsided. Black mist seeped out of the cracks deep in the college like ink, and the stench was like rotten corpses accumulated for more than a month, pungent and straight into the nasal cavity. The faces of the 300 iron guards suddenly turned livid. The fat boy shook his fat hands, and the blood pill he just offered plop and rolled into the bloody mud, making a sticky chuck sound. His fat face was sallow and twisted, and his voice was like a candle in the wind. Black tide 10,000 ghosts? The Ghost King is pulsing, the Ghost Commander has just been slaughtered, the sect leader's 8-needle miracle is still hot. This is, the spiritual veins are backlashing. The tall and thin cultivator knelt down on his knees, his pants were stained with old urine and soaked with new sweat, and his teeth were chattering. It's over. The spiritual veins of the academy are already entangled with ghost energy. Qin Feng asked for help from the big family. Once the pulse sealing technique was used, our 300 iron guards had no food. The talismans were burned and turned into beggars. The girls huddled together, their bloody skirts clinging to their legs, their pale calves trembling like chaff, and they screamed, "Sect Master! No matter how many spiritual stone wallets you have, you can't buy pulse energy." The Ghost King's black tide devours the soul, and the academy becomes a ghost cave. Luo Li's solid figure flickered suddenly, and the silver bells trembled rapidly. "Your Majesty, the ghost map has changed suddenly." The bloody eyes in the core of the ghost city are wide open. Qin Feng's black robe has entered the secret meeting of the big family, and colluded with the Zhao family elders, Yuanying's peak pulse sealing power. The 3 veins of the academy are locked, the black mist devours the spiritual stone source, and the spiritual energy within the sect is exhausted. She pointed her jade finger, and the ghost map in the sky spread out like a curtain of blood. The black lines were like a python wrapping around the college map. The golden light outside the central dormitory was dim, and the edges of the talisman paper sizzled, corroded and emitted green smoke, and the stench of burnt smell filled the nostrils. Jiyu Han's sword eyebrows in his white robe were furrowed, and the sound of the sword was as low as tears. His eyes scanned the black fog, and he pinched the communication jade slip with a click and broke it into pieces. "Qingqing, within my family. The Zhao family is putting pressure, and my father has issued an order to be neutral, and no aid is allowed." Qin Feng promised the Ghost King a chance to reincarnate, and the whole family. His voice was as low as thunder, and he knelt on one knee stiffly, with veins bulging in his fists under his white robe. Yi Ji's tall figure in the green robe flickered, and the afterglow of the golden needle talisman array beside the main hall disappeared, and her jade face turned pale with admiration. She waved her green sleeves to test the spiritual veins, and the spiritual light in her palms popped and scattered like fireflies. "Sect Master. The Zhao family's pulse-sealing needle has penetrated into the center of the earth, and the 3 veins have withered. There is no pulse energy in the ultimate talisman realm." Thousands of casual cultivators in the academy gathered together, hungry and thirsty like wolves. The lights in the distance in the swaying place, the old members of the casual cultivator turned pale, and the former fanaticism of kneeling turned to despair and murmured, "The Lingxing sect has just been established, and the rich second-generation Zhao family is crushing it. The common people's counterattack is shattered." The short and old friend of the rebellious new member crouched lower, and there was blood mud on his forehead. "Papa," his voice was choked, "young Master Qin is crazy, the big family is invincible. We 300, become a blood sacrifice?" Shen Qingqing sat cross-legged in the middle of a pool of blood. The sea of golden consciousness had calmed down, and the remaining warmth was still there. The 9th needle was hidden and the jade hands were cold. The smile on her pretty face suddenly froze, the golden light in her eyes swept away the black mist, her spiritual pressure tested the veins, but it was like a stone sinking into the sea, and the rune dragon plate around her body dimmed half a point. Her long hair was sticky with sweat and stuck to her cheeks, her voice was low and depressed. "Seal the pulse." The wallet, ding ding, the spiritual stone piled up to 2 million, she used her jade finger to scan the high-grade talisman ink spirit beast blood essence, the fragrant blood filled the snow, but there was no pulse energy to activate. The talisman paper was like the dead objects were scattered, rustling, the guards glared, and the fat boy's fat mouth trembled. The master's spiritual stone is huge, and his divine power is unparalleled. He can seal the veins and cut off the source, and the thousands of talismans are turned into waste paper. Elder Zhao, the peak body of nascent soul is immortal, no matter how crazy the injection is, can't break the core needle? The whole place was dead silent, the black mist spread like a tide, the ghost's howl oozed from the ground like thousands of needles, the heat wave burned the skin, the 300 legs of the iron guard shrank, and the girl screamed. The spiritual veins are withered, the clan is dead. The night wind turns cold, the black clouds hang as low as lead, the sky above the college is pulsating with blood, and the distant thunder is rolling in the direction of the ghost town with a sinister smile. Shen Qingqing, spiritual knowledge is delicious, Zhao's pulse is sealed, and he died of hunger and thirst. Qin Feng's voice came through the air, and the image of a black-robed hunter floated. Seeing the ghost picture, his bloody eyes twisted with a sinister smile. Stop the monster. The death of the ghost commander is not a pity. Elder Zhao is here in person, and the elite disciples are suppressing the situation. Ling Awakening Sect? The ants are scattered. As soon as the words were spoken, the sound of hissing broke through the sky like tearing silk, and more than 10 figures of Zhao's elite disciples stepped on the clouds. As he descended, the gorgeous spiritual light in his golden robe soared into the sky. The leader, the short and stocky young man Zhao Li, had a spiritual pressure as high as a mountain at the peak of his foundation building. His nose ring flashed with golden light, and he looked down at the outside of the dormitory with a ferocious smile. Shen Qingqing, a commoner bitch? I heard that the 8-needle ghost slayer is handsome, ha ha. He has no pulse energy, and he is useless in the early stage of becoming a god. Zhao the Elder's pulse sealing order, the Lingxing sect is disbanded and the spirit stones are handed over, otherwise the elites will be destroyed. The golden talisman in his palm exploded, and the heat wave and the smell of sulfur hit his face, hitting the iron guard line with a boom. The 3 people's chests exploded with blood mist, and they screamed, soul burning, and bone residue flew and stuck to the soles of their shoes. The bodyguard was on the verge of collapse. The tall and thin cultivator felt the need to urinate again. The heat in his pants spread and his voice became hoarse. Zhao Li's golden talisman burns the soul. Our talisman has no pulse and cannot stop. Sect leader, retreat to the dormitory? The fat boy threw himself to save his companions. The shoulders were black and smoking, and the fat face was full of tears and blood. The rich second generation and the powerful are contemptuous, and the civilian sect is stillborn. Qin Feng has the last laugh. The girls' skirts danced wildly with blood and mud, holding their heads and stepping back to crush the talisman with a click. Their pale faces were extremely pale. The vision was distorted. There are more than 10 elite disciples, and the spiritual pressure is like the sea. The master's injection is at the limit, no pulse is broken? Luo Li Yinling said urgently, My lord, the ghost map shows that Elder Zhao's core needle is pulsing, and the talisman paper pulse breaking technique is needed to pull it out. But Yi the Zhiji realm has not been fully transmitted. Jiyu Han's sword screamed and his white robe was stained with blood. He tried to rush forward but was counterattacked by the black mist. He coughed up blood and knelt down. Qingqing. The family is fighting. The Zhao family promised the Ghost King's blood, but my father wavered, and stopped helping. Zhao Li laughed wildly and stepped forward, his footsteps shook the ground in cracked ditches, and the golden talismans rained down and hissed. The 5 iron guards evaporated into ashes, and the smell of burnt blood filled the air. The remaining 300 circles shrank and screamed, the Zhao family is invincible. The sect master is shrinking? The short and sturdy young man's nose ring shook, and his ferocious smile locked on Shen Qingqing. Reincarnation spiritual consciousness? Self-explosion due to hunger and thirst. Kneel down to Zhao family, the spiritual stone is confiscated. The shadow of his claws crushed the golden robe. Shen Qingqing took a half step back, the 9th needle in his jade hand trembled slightly, his face was as pale as paper, the sea of consciousness was aching like a needle, the ancient memory fragments flickered but there was no pulse, and only 50% of the spiritual pressure was left. The guard closed his eyes in despair. Sect master, the spiritual light is shattered. The big family is overwhelming, and the common people's dreams are extinguished. Yi Jiqing's robes trembled, tears stained her face. Sect Master, the pulse-breaking talisman requires pulse energy. My teaching is useless. The black fog intensified, the lights of the academy were extinguished, the ghosts howled in the ground like a tsunami. Zhao Li's elite disciples surrounded him, the aura net buzzed like a muffled sound under the sky, and the heat wave burned the bones and stung the nose. Shen Qingqing lowered her eyes and glanced at her wallet. 2 million spiritual stones flashed, but there was nowhere to recharge her pulse energy. She said in a muffled voice, "The layout." But no one in the audience heard it. The 300 iron guards looked ashen and the fat boy's fat body was squirming in a pool of blood. The injections are soaring and become a joke. The Zhao family seals the pulse, the Ghost King and the Black Tide double attack, the Lingxing sect, is dead. Qin Feng Yuan's sinister smile echoed, Shen Qingqing, kneel down hungry and thirsty. Elder Zhao is here personally, and the elites are annihilating the sect. At the peak of despair, Luo Li's figure suddenly froze, and Yin Ling whispered, "My lord, a secret path has been opened on the edge of the ghost city. Clues to the Ghost King may be broken." She was led by her jade hand, and Shen Qingqing was enveloped in translucent spiritual light and sneaked into the black mist. Wildly waving, the sound-transmitting pulse-breaking talisman entered the sea of consciousness. Sect Master, a lineage of the extreme realm, pulseless borrowing spirit. The blood essence ink urges, the talisman paper reverses the pulse. Shen Qingqing's eyes flashed slightly, and the jade hand quietly drew the talisman and ink pile. The scent of blood energy and ink mixed with the black mist, low-key formation. 100-soul explosion talisman disappeared into the ground and cracked, rustling. The Iron Guard whispered unaware. Zhao Li's elite approached and laughed wildly. Monster pulseless, kneel down. The short and stout Zhao Li's claws boomed. Shen Qingqing's figure flashed ghostly. The talisman secretly exploded. Puff puff. Green blood sprayed out on his arms. Zila, rotten flesh. His nose ring was crooked, and his bloody eyes bulged. The talisman, pulseless backlash? Impossible. The elite disciples' face turned pale, the aura network shattered and the heat wave counterattacked. The 5 of them fell to the ground with scorched chests and wailed, "Civilian talisman soldiers, hidden formation?" The 300 guards rubbed their eyes and stood stunned. The fat boy had an O-shaped mouth. The sect leader is keeping a low profile. Pulseless borrows the spirit to suppress Zhao Li? The tall and thin cultivator burst into tears and stood up. The diaper legend continues. But Elder Zhao has not arrived, and the pulse of the black tide has intensified. The girl's eyes ignited for half a moment, but she saw the sky was full of blood, and the black clouds were rolling with thunder like 10,000 drums. Zhao family's general mobilization. The elder personally led 50 elites. Spiritual vein encirclement and suppression campaign, start. Luo Li rang urgently, "My lord, the edge of the ghost city is close. We have the clues, and we can expect to break the pulse." Shen Qingqing's figure sneaked in the black mist. The 9th needle was cold against the palm, and the black tide howled like a knife hanging from the ceiling. Zhao Li chased after him with a roar. Encircle. Hungry evildoers, crush them. Jiyu Han's sword protected the flanks, and Yi Ji's talisman remained. With a flash of light, the Iron Guard 300 regained their strength, but they heard a huge earthquake in the earth's veins. Elder Zhao's grey-robed figure came through the air. The spiritual pressure of the nascent soul peak was like a landslide and a tsunami. The golden light of the vein-sealing needle shot into the sky. Shen Qingqing, the sect is destroyed. The crisis tightened like a net, and the entire academy fell into a black abyss. The bloody wind and blood were overwhelming. The black mist squirms like thousands of insects, a sticky feeling crawls over the skin, and the rotten smell goes straight into the heart. Shen Qingqing's ghostly figure stalks the secret path on the edge of the ghost town. His footsteps are as light as fallen leaves, but his heart is as iron. The ninth needle is cold against the palm of his hand, knowing the gold of the sea. The sea is churning, fragments of ancient memories are twisting like razor blades, sealing the pulse, Zhao's nascent soul, Ghost King Kuroshio's double locks. The spiritual pressure is only 50%, the talisman array backfires on Zhao Li to stop the bleeding, the 300 iron guards are on the verge of collapse. Jiyu Han and Yi Ji protect him but are injured heavy. With 2 million spiritual stones in my wallet, I have no pulse to urge, retreat or fight. Her pretty face was pale and bloodless, her long hair was sticky with sweat, and her eyes flickered as she glanced at the ghost picture of Luo Li. On the blood curtain, Elder Zhao's grey-robed figure was like a mountain. The 50 elite gold-robed spiritual light network buzzed and tightened, and the iron guards outside the college dormitory screamed, Elder Zhao's spiritual pressure is tsunami. The sect leader is sneaking. We can't stop it, the soul-blasting talisman's remaining power is scattered, and the elite soul-burning golden talisman is like rain. Luo Li's silver bell trembled rapidly, and the translucent jade hand pulled the aura of the secret path. Her fairy posture flickered, and her voice was full of fear. My lord, Zhao Li is chasing after me with rotten arms, and the golden light of the nose ring locks the breath. The secret path on the edge of the ghost city is only 100 feet, and the ghost king's clue is under the broken soul stone. But the black tide is pulsating, and all ghosts are hungry for sniffing and spiritual consciousness. Her jade eyes scanned the ghost picture, and the blood eyes in the center opened wide and said, Gulu, to swallow. The black line, the image of Qin Feng in black robes in the distance expanded with a sinister smile. Shen Qingqing committed suicide in the ghost cave of hunger and thirst. The Zhao family suppressed the sect, and my ghost city revived the lion, the reincarnated bloodline of the Master Ghost King, swallowing your spiritual consciousness and becoming an immortal. Luo Li's figure froze, and the silver bell intermittent. Master Qin Feng? The reincarnation of the Ghost King is his master. The ghost map's bloody eyes confirmed that Qin Feng's reincarnated lion is summoning the master's core gate. Shen Qingqing's heart was shocked, and the golden sea of consciousness surged. The ancient spiritual memory flashed and the Ghost King's outline overlapped with Qin Feng's black robe. Qin Feng, chess piece? The master and apprentice are complicit. The Ghost King's reincarnation covets my reincarnated spiritual consciousness. I am thirsty for sealing my pulse, forcing me to reveal my fusion. Outsmart, or needle madness? She squeezed the ninth needle with trembling jade fingers, and the spiritual liquid in the needle tube rolled golden red, and the game in her heart was like electricity. The ninth needle is instantaneous. The peak of the divine transformation, but the backlash of 70% of the consciousness, can be stabilized by integrating Jiyu Hanfu's spiritual consciousness. But the body of Elder Zhao's nascent soul is immortal, one needle can kill him? Jiyu Han's white robe was stained with blood, his sword eyebrows were raised and he coughed up blood. He stood up, his sword screamed, buzz, and turned to death. He secretly pinched the jade slip from the source of the spiritual stone veins with one hand and clicked it. Measuring the talisman ink, Pulseless uses my help to stabilize the formation. His eyes were burning, the veins in his fists were bulging, and the blood from the wound under his white robe was tick-tick, hot. His voice was like a beast. Zhao's father is shaken, I disobey the order and fully invest, to fuse my spirit. Knowledge, injection upgrade. Yi Jiqing's tall figure stepped forward, the tears on his jade face turned fierce, and his green sleeves wildly waved blood essence and inked sand on the ground. Sect Master, Wu Pian uses the second form of the spirit realm, the prediction talisman to cheat and spy on the enemy. The pulse talisman joins forces with the pulse source. The 300 iron guards obey the order, and the soul explosion formation lures the enemy. The rune dragon plate in her palm lit up, and the scent of ink in the scorched black mist filled her nostrils, and she sent a message into the sea of consciousness of the 300 iron guards. The master's low-key layout, the miracle reappears. At the end of the secret path, the broken soul stone clicked and cracked, green phosphorus fire popped, sprang up, and the ghost howled like thousands of needles. The fat boy crawled on the ground with his fat body, waxy sweat rolling down his fat face, and his voice trembled. The sect master is sneaking very fast. Zhao Li is chasing us. We have 300 bait formations. Pulseless talisman prediction? The rich second-generation Zhao family doesn't know yet die. The tall and thin man with loose pants was wet and sticky, his teeth were rattled, and his eyes were wild. You don't regret it when you wet your pants. The sect master is clever and cheats and crushes you. The girls hunted in the bloody skirts, but the chaff in their pale calves was rekindled. Senior sister Fuji borrowed the spirit to break the pulse. Elder Zhao's landslide, we civilians counterattack. Shen Qingqing sat cross-legged under the broken soul stone, his wallet ding-ding and swept wildly. Hundreds of prediction talismans produced. ZZ, were my borrowed Jiu Han's auxiliary consciousness to wrap up. The talisman paper automatically unfolded like a blood mirror, and the ghost pictures of the battle overlapped to predict. Zhao Li's nose ring was crooked, his arms were rotten, and he ran wildly through the boom earthquake path. The elite 50 gold robe net followed behind. Elder Zhao's grey robe geocentric needle golden light pulsating 3 veins locked to death. Black tide thousands of ghosts churning underground to eat the source. She knows the sea game. The prediction talisman cheats to the extreme and peeks into the enemy's weaknesses. Zhao Li's arm at the peak of foundation building is injured by 70% of his spiritual pressure. The disciples on the edge of the elite are frightened. Elder Zhao's nascent soul body is strong, but the pulse needle is weak. Integrated with Jiu Han's auxiliary consciousness, the 9th needle is upgraded instantly. Break the edge, conquer the edge and expand the momentum. The jade finger points the talisman, and the blood mirror explodes. Zhao Li twists and smiles. The evil spirit is approaching. The golden talisman burns the soul net. The sulfur heat wave burns the skin, and the golden light of the nose ring locks the secret path. Yi Ji's voice sounded. Qingqing, the power is unparalleled. The main palace is stable. Jiu Han joins hands. Jiu Han's sword light flashed high in the sky, and his low and tender voice said, Qingqing, injection admiration. Fully owned by the family, any transfer. The wallet dinged, the spiritual stones were like a river. Shen Qingqing bought the spirit beast blood essence, mountains of talisman paper, and the fragrance of ink filled the night sky. The small team expanded to 200, and they all knelt down and pledged their allegiance. The personal guards will always be with you, and we will defeat Qin Feng. Jiu Han's sword light flashed in front of him, and the blood in his white robe spattered, and he roared, Qingqing, auxiliary consciousness fusion, needle rise. Shen Qingqing's 9th needle pierced Jiu Han's arm vein with a pop, and the golden red spirit liquid poured into his sea of consciousness. The pain in the sea of consciousness decreased by 30%, and the spiritual pressure increased by 80%. He sighed inwardly. Jiu Han sacrificed his consciousness to assist the consciousness, and stabilized the needle and counterattacked. I am the only one in the sky and on the earth. The Zhao family's dignitary, the ear of an ant, waved his jade hand, breaking the pulse. Fu Lian Yi Jiji's realm sands into the ground and cracks. The blood essence ink rushes through the source of Jiu Han's veins. The edge veins of the college click cracks. The withered spiritual energy whooshes, surges again. The black mist recedes half a foot, and the burnt odor turns to a delicate fragrance. Yi Jiqing's sleeves danced wildly. Her admiration for her jade face skyrocketed, and her voice trembled. The master's needle merges with Jiu Shafu's consciousness, and the divine power breaks through the border veins. The Iron Guards charge, capture Zhao Bianyan. The 300 iron guards roared again, and the fat boy jumped out with his fat body. The soul explosion talisman smashed Zhao Bian's disciple with the remaining power, and the golden talisman net was shattered. Suppress the sect. The spiritual stone wallet is presented, and the soul awakens. The more than 10 marginal disciples' faces were ashen, their eyes changed from a ferocious smile to fear, and they all knelt down and kowtowed. The civilian sect leader's miracle, the prediction talisman is crushing. Zhao Li, we rebel. Zhao Li's stocky body was dripping with green blood, and he roared back, traitor. Elder Zhao destroyed the sect. But he was swallowed by the green mist of the soul blast, and he screamed, rotted bones, the nose ring is broken. In the distance, Elder Zhao's grey robe burst into the air, the nascent spiritual pressure landslide boomed, the pulse of the golden needle in the earth's core intensified, and the blood light shot up to the sky with thunderous drums. A small evil obstacle, a loose edge vein, what's the point? 50 elites, wipe out the whole network. But the lights of the academy came back on for half a minute, the 3 edge locks cracked, the iron guard expanded by 350, and the fat boy shed tears of ecstasy on his fat face. Acquire the edge of Zhao. The sect's power has skyrocketed, and the god's master is unparalleled in resourcefulness. The girl screamed and cheered, and the blood skirt danced and crushed the golden talisman residue. The injection is upgraded, fused with young Master Jiyu. Zhao family's dignitaries kneel down. Jiyu Hen stands in white robes with a sword, and he grits his teeth in pain. His eyes are obsessed. Qingqing, the family's secret line continues to support. I love you. Luo Li's silver bell whispered, and the blood curtain of the ghost map turned sharply. My lord, break the edge veins and cause the black tide to stir up. Qin Feng Ghost City regains its lions, and the Master Ghost King's core gate opens with a bang. The ground veins in the direction of the Ghost City were shaken violently, and the black tide was shaken. The fog rolled like a tsunami, the aura of the Ghost King surged out, and the ghost howled to the sky. The bloody eyes widened and swallowed the night sky. The fishy wind carried the stench of rotting corpses and hit his face. Qin Feng's black robe revealed a sinister smile. Master, wake up. Shen Qingqing, spiritual consciousness feedback. Elder Zhao's flanking attack begins. Shen Qingqing's eyes flashed with golden light, her jade hands clenched the empty syringe, and the game of consciousness resumed. The power is expanding, the edge veins are broken. Ghost King Qin Feng's master and disciple, we are slaughtering together. But the elder is 50, the core door is open, the hook is soul-eating. She dives deep into the secret path, with the team escorting her. The black tide of ghosts howls and the sword hangs. Elder Zhao's spiritual pressure approaches. Boom. The crisis slightly turns but murderous intent surges. The Ghost King's clues clicked under the broken soul stone. Luo Li pointed into Shen Qingqing's sea of consciousness. My lord, the secret of reincarnation, the weak veins of the Ghost King are in the core door. Borrow the remaining liquid from the needle and kill him. Jiyu Han's sword protects him. Yi Jifu formation continues. 350 Iron Wei Lun Shou murmured wildly. The sect leader has a deep layout, predicting cheating and recruiting traitors. The Zhao family is on the verge of collapse. The fat boy carried Zhao Bian's spiritual stone wallet on his fat body, and grinned. 2 million plus the traitor's 500,000. God is rich. The tall and thin trousers were dry. Dry and roared. Pants-wetting divine sect, expand your power to kill ghosts. The grey-robed figure of Elder Zhao was approaching, and the 50 elites were weaving the golden light net again. The heat wave and sulfur were pungent to the nose, but Shen Qingqing's pretty face had a sneer, and her mental decision was made. The powerful ant, the Ghost King's chess, fight back, rushing. The silhouette accelerated in the black mist. The core of the ghost city was filled with blood, the cracks in the door creaked, and thousands of ghosts surged. The stinking heat wave burned the bones, and Qin Feng's sinister smile echoed, "Come on, a feast of spiritual consciousness. Crisis is like a net, and there is a thunder hidden in the reversal." The black mist gnawed at the end of the secret path like a living thing, and the green phosphorus fire exploded under the broken soul stone. The smell of rotting corpses mixed with sulfuric heat penetrated directly into the nasal cavity. Shen Qingqing's pretty face was pale and sweat rolled down, and her long hair was sticky and her cheeks were swaying. She held the empty syringe tightly in her jade hands, and the remaining liquid was golden and red and trembled slightly. The 9th needle backfired with pain like thousands of ants eating the brain, and the golden sea of consciousness was tumbling unsteadily. Luo Li's ringtone was intermittent and rapid, the translucent jade body flickered uncertainly, the corridor crack on the ghost map's blood curtain widened, the black tide of ghosts' howl was deafening, and the blood-stained eyes widened to swallow up the night sky. "My lord, Brother Qin Feng has entered the middle level. There are 5,000 ghost commanders, black robes wrapped with blood blades, and the spiritual pressure is at the peak of transformation. Elder Zhao's golden net is approaching, and there is no way out. Do you want to retreat?" Jiu Han's white robe's blood was tick-tick, burning. On the ground, the eyebrows of the sword are twisted and the pain has not subsided, and the sword's cry is humming and muffled. "Qingqing, only 10% of the family's dark veins are left to support. The Ghost Commander's soul-eating blade rain, the Iron Guard's 350 are unstoppable." Yi Jiqing's robe was stained with blood, and the jade was stained with blood. His face was filled with desolation, the talisman ink was exhausted, and the bloody essence was rustling on the ground. "Sect Master, predict the enemy in the extreme realm of talisman." Brother Qin Feng will lock his spiritual consciousness with a fierce smile, and the Ghost Commander will whip out his soul with his rotten bone whip. Will we, civilians, counterattack to the end? 350 Iron Guards guarded the broken soul stone. A fat boy carried Zhao Bian's spirit stone wallet with a trembling body. His fat face was sallow and he was sweating. "The sect master will recruit the traitors with miracles. But the dark tide of the Ghost Commander core is raging, Elder Zhao's mountain will collapse and the divine sect will also die. No matter how wet the trousers of the tall, casual cultivator are, his teeth will rattle, and his pale fingers will pinch the remains of the death talisman. The powerful Zhao family is flanking, Qin Feng Ghost King's chess piece. The sect leader is extremely resourceful, and he is crazy about pulseless needles." The girls hunted in blood skirts, and their calves screamed. Senior sister's talisman formation is shattered. The black mist swallows people, and the soul is burning like fire. "We are finished." The traitorous young man Zhao Mion's robes were torn, and his knees were bleeding. His eyes were shaken. "Sect Master, spare your life and surrender." But Elder Zhao ordered strictly, the Ghost Commander's whip shadow should be spared, the life of the rich second generation should not be cut off. "We are on the edge." The ghost image of Qin Feng's black robe appeared in the distance, and the sinister smile echoed like a knife scraping the bones. "Shen Qingqing, what if the civilians cheated on the talisman? The injections are crazy." "Brother, follow the order. The middle level of the Ghost Commander's army is encircling and destroying him, and the powerful people join forces to crush this monster." Elder Zhao's grey robe burst through the air with a roar, and the tsunami of Yuan Ying's spiritual pressure burst. The golden needles of the earth locked the edges of the 3 veins, and the 50 elites' golden robes weaved the Qian Luo. "Little evil, what is the loosening of the edge veins?" The whole network is blood sacrificed, and the Lingxing sect is disbanded and confiscated. The elites roared with ferocious smiles. "Common counterattack? Kneel at Zhao's feet." Despair swallowed up the secret path like a black tide. Shen Qingqing's figure swayed slightly as he sat under the stone. The sea of knowledge and gold surged, and fragments of ancient memories were twisted around. The reincarnation of the Ghost King, the weak veins in the door, the blood jade entering the brain and burning pain. She gritted her teeth and murmured, "The powerful ant, the handsome insect, suppress it and then play again, integrate the public consciousness, and use the forbidden technique to kill." She clicked on her wallet with her jade finger and ding-ding to scan for purchases. 2.5 million spiritual stones surged, and 1,000 sheets of blood essence ink for advanced prediction talismans sizzled. Mounting the mountain, I borrowed the spirit realm to automatically unfold the blood mirror, and the ghost pictures of the battle overlapped. Qin Feng's middle-level black robe grinned ferociously. More than 10 brothers and brothers turned into gods and ghosts, and the 5,000 rotten bone whips popped to draw out the air. The black tide pulsed and devoured the source, and Elder Zhao's golden net pressed back. The fat boy's fat eyes widened, and his fat mouth trembled in an O shape. Sect Master, the divine sweeper of the wallet? Thousands of prediction talismans are cheating, and you can see the ghost handsome's weaknesses. Jiu Han's eyebrows were raised, and the assistant consciousness was pained, and he roared, "Qingqing, merge with my remaining consciousness." The family's veins are fully opened. Yi Jiqing's sleeves flicked, and the blood ink of the second type of talisman was rekindled. Sect Master, the Iron Guard's consciousness borrowed the spirit. The common people counterattack, the divine power reappears. Melt. Shen Qingqing's pretty face bursts with red and golden light. The sea of consciousness sucks like a whirlpool. Luo Li's jade body buzzes into her mind, and the whole soul's consciousness merges with the silver bell and dings crisply. Jiu Han's white-robed sword pierces his arm veins, assisting the consciousness of the river. Boom poured in. The sword roared and turned into a dragon's roar. Yi Ji's blood essence bit his tongue and sprayed the talisman, and all the talismans of the second form of the extreme realm came into consciousness. The 350 iron guards roared and squeezed the spirit stones. The soul light spots gathered like a galaxy. The fat boy knelt down and burst into tears. "Master, lend me your knowledge. If you don't regret it when you wet your pants, the divine sect will live forever." The tall and thin man shook his pants and yelled, "The knowledge of all the common people is unified, and the ancient forbidden technique kills ghosts." The young man from the edge of Zhao broke his robe and kowtowed. "I present my knowledge of traitors, nobles of the Zhao family. Death." The sea of consciousness and gold instantly surged tenfold. The spiritual pressure at the peak of the transformation of the gods boomed into the sky. The black mist rolled back 100 feet. The scorched smell turned to the golden fragrance, and the three-vein lock of the academy cracked, and the withered spiritual energy surged again. The ghost city in the middle of Qin Feng's black robe appeared, and the black tide of the 5,000 ghost commanders of the brothers surged. The rotten bone whip cracked the stone wall, and the stench of rotten corpses was like a mountain. The ghost commander led the giant man who turned into a god and smiled ferociously. "Brother, civilian needle maniac?" Soul-eating blades rained down, swallowing up their consciousness. The whip shadow danced like 10,000 pythons. The green blood poisonous mist sizzled and burned the air, and the spiritual pressure combined to hit the top. Shen Qingqing's ghostly figure emerged from the fog, with long hair flying and a pretty face cold and arrogant. His golden eyes scanned, ghostly and handsome insects, powerful ants, ancient forbidden arts, talismans are blasting. He waved his jade hand wildly, thousands of prediction talismans, blood mirrors exploded, and the weaknesses of cheating and spying on the enemy were revealed. The ghostly handsome whip core was empty, and the Legion's black tide veins were exposed. Her sea consciousness forbidden technique activated. Boom. The talisman flew like 10,000 swords. Whoosh. The blood essence ink dragon coiled around. Each talisman exploded with pop. Green blood splashed everywhere. Thousands of heads in front of the ghost commander's army exploded with pop. The rotten bone whip broke with click and shattered to the ground. The stinking green mist evaporated and turned to burnt ash and hit the nose. The handsome ghost man's bloody eyes bulged, his stocky body whip shadow collapsed, his voice trembled and screamed, the talisman cheated? Predict my whip core. Senior brother save, the transformation of the gods will break it. More than 10 brothers in black robes panicked, and the golden ghost blades were swung wildly, but the talisman rain penetrated the heart. Puff, the blood hole sprayed green liquid, and the 2,000 legions fell to the ground with a miserable scream, and their souls were sucked by the talisman. Qin Feng's black robe froze with a sinister smile, and took half a step back with a pale face. Impossible. The fusion of ordinary people's consciousness, ancient forbidden arts? Master, weak veins can't hold the seam. The fat boy threw himself out, with tears of joy on his fat face. The sect leader's talisman blasted. The ghost commander army was slaughtered. The tall and thin man jumped up from his pants and roared. The common people are using their wits to defeat the handsome ghosts. The powerful Zhao family is dumbfounded. The girl's bloody skirt danced with green blood, and she screamed, "The talisman cheats, the ghost army collapses. The master is in the sky and on the ground." Elder Zhao's grey robe broke through the air and approached. The 50 elites of the golden net buzzed and tightened. The yuanying spiritual pressure avalanched. Bang! The heat wave and sulfur pierced the bones. Evil talisman array god? Zhao's golden needle locks the veins. The whole network is wiped out. The elite leader young man Zhao Bian's eyes shrank, and the golden robe dimmed. Elder Fu Yu slaughters 5,000 ghost commanders. Ordinary people know forbidden arts, our net. But Shen Qingqing's golden eyes glanced, and the remaining liquid in the empty needle tube, Gulu, rolled in gold and red. Her figure teleported and pierced Jiyu Han's arm veins. The jade finger pointed out, and the shadow of the needle penetrated Elder Zhao's grey robe like a dragon. The golden needle clicked, and all 3 of the heart veins were shattered. His grey hair was messy and his blood robe was stained red. The nascent soul's peak body knelt down with a bang, and his voice trembled. The needle, one needle breaks the 3 meridians. The dignitaries of the Zhao family, please spare your life, the academy will be confiscated. The 50 elites knelt down and kowtowed with a bang, their faces turned pale and fearful. The common master is invincible. The whole audience was shocked. The green phosphorus fire in the middle of the ghost city was extinguished, the bloodlight dimmed, Qin Feng's black robe collapsed and his ferocious smile revealed his true appearance, the blood on his eyebrows flashed, and the ghost king's reincarnation aura surged. Master failed to give spiritual consciousness. Shen Qingqing, you win this game, but the core door is fully opened, and I, the ghost king, fully awakens and summons the ultimate ghost realm to devour the world. His figure swooshed into black smoke and fled through the cracks in the door. The core bloodlight bombed, and the earth's veins shook and thousands of ghosts began to howl again. Luo Li's silver bell emerged from the sea of consciousness, with a jade-faced admiration. Master, the forbidden technique of all consciousness, kill the elders with one needle. The ghost king's hook devours the soul. Jiyu Han stood up with a sword in his white robe. His eyes were obsessed with shouting, Qingqing, fusion love you, wholly owned by the family, marriage, and dominance. Yi Jiqing robe knelt on the ground, with tears on her jade face. Master, and disciple, extremely realm, Shenwei Yonggu Academy. 350 iron guards and 50 Zhaos knelt down, and the fat boy carried a mountain of wallets with a fat smile. 5 million spiritual stones, the master of the gods, you are the only one in the academy. The tall and thin cultivator kowtows enthusiastically. The sect of the peeing pants has expanded to 1,000, the powerful kneel down, invincible release. Explode. Shen Qingqing shouted, the soul exploded and the ground cracked with a boom, and green blood and rotten mist sprayed into Zhao Li's face. Twinkle flinched. Brother Li. The master's talisman formation is very accurate, predicting the weakness of our network. Elder Zhao ordered strictly, but the common people counterattack. The fat boy stared in an O shape with his fat mouth, and his fat hands trembled and pointed to the sky. The master predicts cheating. Zhao Li's nose ring is broken, the elite shrinks. We are 300 decoys into magic soldiers. The tall and thin casual cultivator got up in tears, and shook the mud from his trousers. Miracle. The ingenuity is overwhelming, and the rich second generation collapses. The cracks in the corridor cracked like a collapse of the sky, the black tide surged out, the fishy wind mixed with the stench of rotten corpses hit the nose, the soul-crushing stone on the edge of the ghost town shook violently, the cracks in the earth veins clicked and sprayed green phosphorus fire, the blood eyes in the night sky pulsated, and the ouch of all ghosts shattered the eardrums of the iron guards. The lights of high-rise buildings on the edge of the city swayed, the traffic in the distance screeched, and the citizens screamed. The black fog seeped into the streets and swallowed up the street lamps. The spiritual energy revived and turned into a ghost land. The news app pop-up window flashed wildly. Ghost Town has changed. There is a supernatural tide in the city center. Thousands of people are. The human soul is missing. Shen Qingqing stood on the broken soul stone with her long hair flying, her golden eyes slightly narrowed, her pretty face cold and arrogant, looking down at the black tide. The remaining liquid in the empty needle tube rolled like a red gulu, and the backlash of the 10th needle was like a fire burning the sea of consciousness. But the golden sea of consciousness was as stable as a mountain. She tapped the spiritual stone wallet with her jade finger and heard a ding-ding sound. Luo Li's silver bell emerged from her mind, and her translucent jade body flashed. My lord, the Ghost King is completely awake. The blood-eyed body is pulsating, the ultimate ghost domain spreads across the city, Qin Feng's black smoke guards the core gate, and the remnants of the brothers' souls are connected to the source of the bite. Is there any impact? Jiyu Han's blood in his white robe tickled and burned the stone, his sword brows twisted to help him recognize the pain, and the sword buzzed and the dragon chanted in a low voice. He knelt down on one knee with eyes obsessed. Qingqing, the family's dark veins are fully opened. Father Jiyu Qianmai's source message. The Zhao family elders knelt down and wavered, the family alliance's allegiance. But Qin Feng's final plot, the ghost domain hook devoured everyone's consciousness, our 400 iron guards can't stop the tsunami. Yi Jiqing's robe dyed, he knelt down with blood, his jade face was desolate, and the ink was exhausted, and the blood-soaked ground rustled with power. Sect Master, all 3 veins of the academy have been shattered and withered, and the spiritual energy has surged again, but the Ghost King's blood eyes swallowed the sky. Carrying wallets and piles of mountains, his fat face was sallow with tears mixed with sweat. The sect leader is mighty and handsome in slaying ghosts. But the city is destroyed by the black tide and tsunami. Qin Feng's sinister smile eats up the source, and our trousers-stricken sect is also about to fly away. The tall and thin casual cultivator's trousers are wet, his teeth are rattling, and his pale fingers are pinching the remains of the talisman. So what if the powerful Zhao family surrenders? The Ghost King has revealed himself, the city-destroying ghosts are rising, the sect master is resourceful. Girl, they hunted and hugged each other in their bloody skirts, their calves shivering with chaff and screaming. Senior sister's talisman formation is shattered. The black mist swallows the building, and the soul is burned in pain. It's over, it's over. Elder Zhao's grey robe was stained with blood and he knelt down, his grey hair was torn and his 3 veins were broken and painful like knives. His body at the peak of nascent soul was trembling, the sect leader spared his life and surrendered. But Qin Feng Ghost King's chess piece, the soul-eating hook locked everyone's consciousness, the Zhao family's internal strife collapsed. We ants should not die. Black fog billows on the urban streets in the distance, and the souls of passers-by are pulled away and floated towards the ghost town. Screams echo in the night sky, the glass of high-rise buildings shatters, and the police sirens whine ineffectively. The ghost picture of Qin Feng's black robe emerged, and his sinister smile echoed like a knife scraping his bones. Shen Qingqing, the common people cheated with the crazy needle talisman? So what if I slaughtered my ghost handsome army? The master is fully awake, the core gate's devouring source formation rises, and the black smoke hook locks all your consciousness. The dignitary of the Zhao family is kneeling down? The family's support is cut off. Crush this monster. Black smoke pulsed in the core door, and more than a dozen soul-changing souls and ghosts gathered together. The green light of the soul-eating array sizzled and burned the sky, and the spiritual pressure combined to attack the peak of the god. Elder Zhao's grey eyes flinched, and the elite 50 gold robes trembled dimly. Qin Feng, soul-eating hook? It's useless for us to surrender, the ghost land will destroy the city. The heat wave and sulfur hit his face, the 400 iron guards' faces were ashen, and the fat boy's fat legs collapsed. Sect Master, the city is dead, Qin Feng's last blow, we can't afford to kneel down. The black tide of despair engulfed the soul-broken stone. Shen Qingqing's figure swayed slightly as he sat cross-legged, the sea of knowledge surged, and fragments of ancient memories were twisted around. The Ghost King's blood eyes were hooked by weak veins, and the cracks in the soul-eating door were exposed. She gritted her teeth and murmured, "The powerful ant, the Ghost King insect. Press down and play again, the ultimate recharge, the god-level talisman paper will be slaughtered." The jade finger clicked on the wallet frantically, and the ding, ding, ding sound continued, and 5 million spiritual stones surged like a river. Advanced prediction talisman upgrades, the god-level blood essence ink blasts to pile up the mountain. Wumara borrows the spiritual realm to automatically expand the blood mirror 100 times, and the ghost pictures of the battle overlap. Qin Feng's core black robe smiles ferociously. The remnants of the soul-eating array lock everyone's consciousness with green hooks. The Ghost King's blood eyes are slightly exposed, and the veins are slightly exposed. The fat boy's fat eyes widened, and his fat mouth trembled in an O shape. Sect Master, the divine sweeper of the wallet? God-level talisman cheating, peeking at the weakness of Qin Feng's hook. Jiyu Hen raised his sword eyebrows, and the assistant consciousness was pained and roared, "Qingqing, merge with my omniscience." The family's full support, Jiyu Qian's veins are open. Yi Jiqing. With a flick of his sleeve, the blood ink of the 3 forms of talisman was rekindled. Sect Master, the Iron Guard's wisdom borrowed the spirit, the Zhao family's allegiance, the divine power has reappeared. Elder Zhao's grey robe shook, and his 3 veins were broken and he knelt down in pain. Sect Master, the Zhao family's internal communication sent 1 billion spiritual stones to be confiscated. With the support of the golden veins, crush Qin Feng. Rom. Shen Qingqing's pretty face exploded with red and golden light. The sea of consciousness was sucked by the whirlpool. Luo Li's jade body buzzed, and the melted silver bells, ding-dong, echoed crisply. Jiyu Han's white-robed sword pierced his heart, and the consciousness river, rumbling, poured in. The sword roared and turned into a dragon and shook the sky. Yiji's blood essence bit his tongue and sprayed the talisman with a puff-puff, and the phoenixes of the 3 extreme realm talismans circled into consciousness. The 400 iron guards roared and squeezed the spirit stones. The soul light points gathered in the galaxy. The fat body knelt on the ground and burst into tears, shouting, "Sect Master, please lend me your knowledge." The diaper divine sect, the family's support is coming. The tall and thin man in loose pants jumped up and shook the mud. The common people's knowledge is unified. The ancient forbidden technique is the killing hook. Elder Zhao's grey hair shook, and the souls of 50 elites of the Zhao family buzzed together. The powerful knowledge is offered. The family confiscates allegiance. The Zhao family message, ding, pop-up window. Gutian Alliance has injected 1 billion spiritual stones, and the support golden veins bang open. The sea of consciousness in the golden sea surged 20 times, and the spiritual pressure at the peak of the tribulation boomed into the sky. The black tide rolled back thousands of feet, and the burnt smell turned to the golden fragrance. The lights of the city on the edge of the ghost domain returned to light, and the citizens screamed and exclaimed, "The spiritual pressure of the golden sea." The ghost fog recedes, and the gods save the city. Shen Qingqing's ghostly figure breaks through the fog and rushes into the core, with long hair flying and a pretty face cold and arrogant, golden eyes locked on Qin Feng's black robe, insect's last conspiracy, god-level talisman, blasting and devouring souls. On the way, the hook of black smoke and green light sizzled to lock the public's consciousness. Qin Feng's ferocious smile emerged, and the residual the Soul Master brothers turned into gods and struck with a whoosh of green blades. The fishy wind and putrid mountains pressed down, common people merge? The source-eating hook whips out your golden sea, and the Master's blood eyes swallow your soul. The green hook was biting like 10,000 insects, and the sea of consciousness was as painful as fire. The souls of the 400 iron guards trembled and screamed, "Ah!" The fat boy's chubby face was twisted and he backed away with his wallet. The hook eats the soul. The sect leader's public consciousness is shaken. Jiyu Hanjian, who roared, "Qingqing, block the golden veins of the family." But Shen Qingqing's jade hand waved wildly, and the god-level prediction talisman, Sha blood mirror exploded with thousands of layers, and the cheating enemy was revealed. Qin Feng's hook core was empty, the residual soul vein seam was exposed, and the weak pulse in the black robe's eyebrows flashed with blood. She activated the forbidden technique of sea consciousness to boom, and the god-level talismans were like 10,000 dragons soaring, boom. The blood essence ink phoenix was entangled, each talisman exploded, pop bang, green blood splashed everywhere. The heads of the first 5 brothers of the remnant soul brothers exploded, bang bang. The green hook broke and shattered into the air with a click. The stinking green mist evaporated and turned into burnt ash and hit your nose. Qin Feng's black robe's bloody eyes bulged, his stocky body collapsed, and his voice trembled and screamed, God-level talisman? Predict my hook core. Brother, save, the god's remnant soul will be shattered. The 5 remnant souls panicked and swung their green blades randomly, but the talisman rain penetrated the heart. Puff puff, the blood hole sprayed green slurry, the soul-eating array collapsed, and the soul was, sucked by the talisman. Qin Feng's face turned pale and he stepped back 10 feet, his black robe was torn, and his brows were bleeding. His eyes were dim. Impossible. The common people's consciousness is fully integrated, ancient forbidden arts? The family's support is 1 billion. Master, I can't hold the hook, I regret. I shouldn't have stopped you. He kneeling down softly, the Ghost King's reincarnated aura swallowed back, and the autophagic spiritual pressure in his blood eyes exploded with a boom. His voice screamed desperately, Shen Qingqing, you win. I, Qin Feng, an ambitious immortal cultivator, with ears. Spare my life and sacrifice my master's weak veins. The fat body rushed forward, with tears of ecstasy on his fat face. The clan leader's talisman blasted wildly. Qin Feng knelt down, the miracle was overwhelming. The tall and thin casual repairman jumped up with dry trousers and roared. The public's wisdom borrows the spirit, the common people crush the hook. Qin Feng regrets his face, the powerful family looks stupid. Girl. The blood skirt danced and stamped on the green blood, and the screams turned to cheers. The god-level talisman is in the ultimate state, the soul-eating array collapsed. The master is in the sky and on the earth. Elder Zhao's grey eyes widened, and his grey hair trembled. Qin Feng is defeated. The entire Zhao family surrenders, and 1 billion spiritual stones are eternal. Jiyu Han swept away the remaining smoke with his sword in his white robe, and whispered infatuatedly, Qingqing, God-level Futu's conspiracy, the marriage between the aristocratic families, I will love you without regrets. Yi Ji robe in green robes knelt down, her jade face was filled with tears of admiration. The master and disciple are in the ultimate realm. The power of the Academy's confiscation resounded in Luo Li Yinling's mind. Your Majesty, Qin Feng's weak pulse appears. The Ghost King's core blood eyes appear, The whole audience was shocked, the core door creaked open, and the black tide receded and the golden fragrance filled the air. The lights on the high-rise buildings in the city were lit again, and the citizens knelt down in the streets to salute, "Goddess save the city. Awaken the sect master, you are the only one." The Zhao family's Jiu Qian message pop-up window flashed wildly, "The whole family is loyal, and the backing is endless. Qin Feng the culprit will be imprisoned forever." The 400 Iron Guards and Zhao family elites knelt down and said, "Dong dong." The fat boy grinned and carried his wallet. "The spiritual stone is 1.5 billion, the master of the common people." The family kneels down to worship. Shen Qingqing's golden eyes looked down at the desperate body of Qin Feng kneeling on the ground. He pointed out with a sneer, the shadow of the needle, swish, and the blood in his eyebrows. "Chengji regrets? It's too late. The public has locked the soul and sent it to the ghost prison." Qin Feng's black robe, bang, falling to the ground, his bloody eyes shattered, green blood spurted out, and his voice was intermittently regretful. "Sect master. I was wrong. The ambition of the powerful is as dust. Rare." The soul was dragged into the wallet ghost prison by the buzzed seal of the talisman, and the conspiracy was completely defeated. The crowd worshipped like waves, and the tall and thin cultivator kowtowed enthusiastically. Qin Feng kneels to pieces. The god-level talisman is invincible, unleashing the ultimate. But deep in the core, there was a huge earthquake, and the Ghost King's true form emerged. A giant shadow with blood-eyed eyes thousands of feet long appeared, a tsunami of rotten corpses hit his face, and the black tide of ghosts that destroyed the city surged again. The earth veins cracked and swallowed the sky. "Junior, merge the consciousness? I am fully awake. The ultimate ghost realm devours the world. Needle-crazy talisman, come to fight." The thunder of crisis broke out. The golden sea spiritual pressure greeted the black tide. Shen Qingqing's long hair danced wildly, and the pretty face boiled with fighting spirit. "Ghost King, the injection rushes, and kills your body." The black tide rolled back like a vast sea of ink, and the rotten stench mixed with the crunching sound of broken bones penetrated the nose. The giant shadow with thousands of feet of blood-eyed eyes inside the core gate of the ghost city pulsated dong-dong like a beating heart. The green phosphorus fire tongue, tsk, licked the cracks in the earth veins, and rotten pus spattered onto the soul-crushing stone, which sizzled and burned with smoke. The lights on the high-rise buildings on the edge of the city had just come back on, but they were swallowed up by the black fog. The sound of glass shattering was like rain, and citizens screamed, "Help!" echoing in the night sky. The sirens, woo-woo, were shrill and powerless. The pop-up window of the news app flashed wildly. "The Ghost King wakes up. The ultimate ghost land engulfs the city, and the world of immortality moves together." Shen Qingqing's long hair danced crazily and sat cross-legged on the broken soul stone, her golden eyes locked on the giant shadow with blood eyes, her pretty face filled with fighting intent. The golden red gulu left over from the 10th injection rolled in the empty needle tube, causing backlash and pain like thousands of insects eating her brain. Luo Li Yinling's mind rang rapidly, and the jade body phantom trembled. "My lord, the pulsation of the Ghost King's reincarnated body is intensifying. The weak vein hook is exposed, but there are hundreds of millions of black tide ghost soldiers, and the soul-eating power locks the public consciousness. Is there any impact?" Slave the maid sacrifices the origin. Jiu Han's white robe hunted, the sword hummed, and the dragon roared in a low voice. He put one knee on the ground and felt the pain was like a knife, and his eyes scanned the black tide obsessively. "Qingqing, the golden veins of the family are fully opened." News: the urban immortal world gathered to watch the battle, with endless support from the spirit stones of the entire Zhao family. But the tsunami of ghost soldiers and the 400 souls of the Iron Guard were shaken, and we couldn't stop it. Yi Jiqing's robes were stained with blood and knelt down, her jade face was pale and the ink was exhausted, and the sand of blood scattered on the ground was unable to evaporate. Sect Master, the 3 veins of the Academy confiscated withered spirits are rising again, but the Ghost King's blood eyes swallow the sky, and the prediction talisman peeks at the enemy, the ultimate ghost domain hook bites the source, and the civilians counterattack to the end. Head? 350 Iron Guards and 50 elites of the Zhao family took turns to guard the stone formation. The fat boy's fat body was shaking and he was carrying a mountain of wallets. His fat face was stained with tears and fell to the ground with a bang. The sect master is so powerful that too Qin Feng. But the Ghost King's blood-stained eyes are thousands of feet away. The black tide destroys the city, and our crotch-wearing sect is also about to fly away. The tall and thin trousers clattered with wet teeth, and he pinched the talisman with his pale fingers. What if the powerful Zhao family surrenders? Billions of souls are devoured, and the sect leader is extremely resourceful. The girls hugged their legs in bloody skirts and screamed harshly, "Senior sister's talisman is shattered." The black mist swallows the building, the soul burns in pain. It's all over, the city is dead. Elder Zhao is grey. His robe was stained with blood and he was kneeling on the ground. His grey hair was in disarray and his 3 veins were in pain as if they were twisted. His body at the peak of his nascent soul was shaking like chaff. Sect Master, spare your life and surrender, but the Ghost King's real body is pulsing. The internal fighting in the Zhao family has collapsed. We, the ants, are dead. In the distant city sky, the flying boat of the Cultivation World family came through the sky with a boom. The golden light shield reflected the night sky. Jiu Qian's white-haired figure stood on the head of the boat. His eyes trembled and whispered, "Daughter Qingqing. Crossing the Golden Sea at the peak of tribulation?" The family alliance is watching the battle, and the Zhao family has confiscated 1 billion. This girl is a genius. The grey-robed supporter Jew of the Zhao family trembled. The family's gold veins are all open. But the Ghost King's blood eyes are in danger of annihilation. Black tide ghost soldiers. Roaring like thunder, hundreds of millions of corpses and ghosts rushed towards the face. The claws and claws tore apart the Iron Guard talisman formation with a click. Green blood spattered and the scorched smell hit the nostrils. The Iron Guard's soul screamed, "Ah," and shattered. And the fat boy's fat legs were weak and he burst into tears. Ghost soldiers see. Sect Master, all the wisdom and souls can't hold it back. The whole place was filled with despair, and the dark smile of the giant shadow with blood eyes echoed like a bone scraper. "Junior, I am the reincarnation of the Mad King, and I will eat your golden sea and rule the city forever." Shen Qingqing's pretty face turned red and her golden eyes exploded with light. She clicked the spirit stone wallet, ding ding ding, wildly with her jade fingers. More than 1.5 billion spirit stones poured out like a galaxy. The advanced blood essence ink boomed, piled up into a mountain of blood. The god-level prediction talisman was upgraded to the ultimate blood mirror. Thousands of layers were unfolded. The ghost pictures of the battle overlapped. The core of the weak vein hook of the Ghost King's blood eye was exposed, and the veins of the black tide ghost soldiers were revealed. She gritted her teeth and murmured, "The powerful ant, the Ghost King insect, lower it and flick it again. The final form of the injection, the god-level talisman formation will be slaughtered." The 10th injection was held in the hand of the empty tube, and the golden red of the needle shadow exploded with a boom, and the final form was like a golden dragon soaring into the sea of consciousness, and the backlash turned into pain. With infinite spiritual power, the vortex of the golden sea surged 30 times, and at the peak of the tribulation, the spiritual pressure of the real spiritual realm boomed into the sky. The black tide rolled back thousands of feet, and the rancid smell turned to golden fragrance. The city lights were restored, and the citizens knelt down in the streets exclaiming, "The shadow of the golden dragon needle. The goddess slays ghosts, the divine power is overwhelming." Fusion formation. Shen Qingqing's long hair flew into the air and his ghostly figure charged into the core. God-level talisman papers rustled like thousands of phoenixes singing in unison to construct a spiritual fusion formation. Blood mirrors with thousands of layers of blood ink phoenixes circled. Each talisman exploded with a pop-pop, and green blood splashed everywhere. Billions of ghost soldiers forward exploded into ash with a pop-pop, and a rain of burnt ash fell with a whistle. Luo Li's jade body buzzed completely to sacrifice the origin, and the silver bell dinged crisply turned into the Milky Way and poured into the formation. Master, the origin of slaves is melted. The ghost map's weak veins are locked. Slay the ghost king. Jiyu Han's white robe sword stabbed the heart veins and exploded again, and the omniscient river bang the guardian formation. At the edge, the sword screamed and the dragon chanted to shatter the minions of the ghost soldiers. Qingqing, the golden veins of the family protect you. Love without regrets, the sword protects the eternal town. Yijiqing's sleeves shook wildly, and the three-style blood ink of the talisman puff sprayed the center of the auxiliary formation, and the talisman phoenixes chirped and circled to eat ghosts. Sect Master, the academy confiscated the three souls and borrowed the spirit. The divine formation is invincible. The Iron Guards and the Zhao family's elite souls buzzed together, and the fat boy knelt down in tears and yelled, "The sect master's formation is complete, and the ghost soldiers are scattered." The man who repaired his trousers jumped up and roared, "The common people are crushing the sea with a large formation. The powerful people are stupid, and the god-level talismans are killing billions." Elder Zhao tossed his grey hair and blood-grey eyes were wide open. A message from the whole Zhao family, ding, pop-up window with endless gold veins, 1 billion more for the family. A large array of golden light, divine power to destroy ghosts. The golden light of the formation exploded like the sun, and the black tide of ghost soldiers howled and evaporated. The sea of green blood turned into scorched ash mountains. The stench was dispersed and the golden fragrance filled the air. The flying boats in the world of immortality trembled. Jiyu Qian's white hair gasped, "The final form of the golden dragon needle?" The spiritual consciousness formation slaughtered hundreds of millions of ghost soldiers. In the Qing dynasty, aristocratic families married, and only a woman was alone. Honored. Chief Zhao knelt in grey robes and trembled, "The whole Zhao clan worships you. The Ghost King." But the ghost prison in the wallet exploded with a bang, and Qin Feng's remnant soul burst out with a green light, turning into a green hook and attacking the center of the formation. "Master Shen Qingqing, protect me with your true body, eating the golden sea." The green hook was biting like 1,000 insects, and the sea of consciousness was shaken. The Iron Guard's soul screamed, "Ah," and the fat boy's fat face twisted and retreated. Qin Feng exploded. "The ghost prison is broken, the hook bites the source." Jiyu Han swept his sword and shouted, "Shijia block." Then Shen Qingqing's golden eyes sneered, and finally the blood mirror prediction talisman, sand, exploded in 10,000 layers. The god-level talisman flew through the green hook with boom, pop. Qin Feng's residual soul exploded and spewed out green slurry, and his voice was intermittently desperate. "God, the divine formation has no leaks?" The self-destruction failed. "I, Qin Feng, will regret it forever." The soul was wiped out, and the conspiracy was over. The formation advances to the core, the Ghost King's blood-eyed giant shadow suddenly bulges and pulses with a rumbling, and the reincarnated true body is finally released. The throne of 10,000 feet of corpses emerges, 1,000 hooks of blood-eyed eyes swish and eat the sky, and the black mist of the ultimate ghost realm, Gulu, swallows the earth veins. Fusion formation? My true body soul eating, the needle talisman flies away. The green light of the hook hits the face, and the Iron Guard talisman on the edge of the formation clicks. The girl screams and holds her head, the real body of Go High. The sect leader. The fat boy's fat eyes widened and his fat mouth trembled in an O shape. The Ghost King's real body is over. But Shen Qingqing's pretty face was arrogant and her jade fingers were pointing wildly, and her wallet with 1.5 billion ding came out again. Tens of thousands of upgraded divine-level blood phoenix talismans exploded in unison. Each talisman was like a dragon and phoenix entwined through hooks. Bang bang bang, thousands of green hooks shattered like rain of green blood. The blood-eyed giant shadow trembled and retreated thousands of feet, the throne of corpses cracked, and the Ghost King roared like thunder. Impossible. The mass formation of civilians, the weak veins are exposed, and the true body cannot be eaten? Luo Li's silver bell rang. My lord, the weak veins are locked. Kill them. The spiritual pressure of the Golden Sea exploded 30 times, the true spirit realm phantom appeared, Shen Qingqing's figure swooped down like a god, the needle shadow golden dragon sword and penetrated the core of the blood pupil, the god-level talisman formation was fully pressed, boom. The blood phoenix burst open the throne, the green blood evaporated and ash hit the nose, the Ghost King's true form ouched in agony and the giant shadow collapsed, and the black smoke of his soul was sucked by the formation and sealed into the ghost prison in the wallet. The black tide recedes, the golden fragrance fills the whole city, the ground vein, Gulu, regains its spiritual energy, the city's high-rise buildings are brightly lit, and the citizens kneel on the streets to salute. Dong dong, the goddess slays the Ghost King. The awakened sect leader will be the only one forever. The world of immortality is flying together. After surrendering, Jiyu Qian's white hair knelt down with tears in his eyes. Qingqing, the Ghost King's true body has been reduced to ashes. The family is fully owned, and they have joined forces to dominate. The head of the Zhao clan kowtowed in grey robes and his grey hair was scattered. The Zhao family will be confiscated forever. 1 billion spiritual stones, a divine treasure is presented. Shen Qingqing's long hair fluttered and fell to the ground. The broken soul stone fell to the ground. His golden eyes narrowed slightly as he looked down at the crowd. His pretty face was cold and arrogant, with a golden glow. The pop-up window of his wallet flashed wildly, the Ghost King's soul was sealed, and the reincarnated treasures, ancient blood-eye crystal cores, billions of spiritual stone ghost mines, and the fragments of the sea of reincarnated knowledge were all in his bag. The balance of spiritual stones soared by 3 billion, and the inventory of god-level talismans was endless. She waved her jade hand lightly, and the golden light dispersed from the formation, and the Iron Guard's injuries sizzled, healed. The fat boy knelt down with his fat body and burst into tears of ecstasy. The sect master slaughtered the real body. The god with a wallet has 3 billion, the civilians dominate, and the diaper sect has expanded to 10,000 people. The tall and thin man in loose pants jumped up and roared. The Ghost King flies away, the god formation is invincible. The powerful Zhao family is stunned, and the whole city worships. The girls in their bloody skirts danced in cheers and stepped on the ashes. The master's power will be passed on to heaven and earth forever. Yi Jikingpao knelt down and worshipped with tears on his face. The master and apprentice are in the ultimate realm, and the new students of the 3 Meridians confiscated academy have personally taught the magic talisman to thousands of people. Jiyu Han, with his sword in his white robe, knelt down in ecstasy. Qingqing, the aristocratic family has endless gold veins, and I love you for marriage. Share the treasures in the ghost prison. Luo Li Yinling's mind rang softly. My lord, the ghost map has been cleared. The reincarnation fragments have melted into the sea, the ancient cultivation level has increased again, and the true spiritual realm has been stabilized. Elder Zhao's grey eyes widened and his grey hair trembled as he climbed forward. Sect Master, the inside story of the entire Zhao family. The ghost prison Qin Feng and Zhao Sai are permanently banned, the family gold vein mine is presented, and the sacred treasures are piled up. City News app pop-ups. Shen Qingqing slays the Ghost King. The Lingxing sect dominates the immortal world, the academy is promoted to the divine level, and the aristocratic families are allied. Allegiance. The elders of the flying boat family in the distance looked at each other with pale faces and trembled. The common people are mad at the talisman gods, they despise the powerful as dust. We surrender. Shen Qingqing sneered and glanced at the wallet. Ding. The Ghost King crystal called the Golden Red Gulu was injected into the injection library, and the shadow of the god-level needle flickered. Everyone gasped, and the fat boy carried the mountain of new wallets with a fat grin. The sect master has gained. 3 billion gods are rich, the ghost mines and spiritual stones are endless, and the common people defy the heavens. The night breeze came slowly, and the golden fragrance soothed the whole place. 400 iron guards and Zhao's elites were guarding and expanding their force. The 3 branches of the academy's spiritual energy surged like a river again. Ji Yuhan stood up and hugged Shen Qingqing's waist gently, whispering, "Qingqing, the aftermath is calm." Celebrating in the family mansion, marriage banquet. She said. The golden eyes nodded softly, and the crowd cheered like waves. The fat boy turned around and shouted, "Long live the Shenzong! The sect leader is the only one, and the city will be safe forever." The world changed because of her. She was famous as a cultivator, her status was at the top, treasures were flowing into the mountains, trivial matters were under control, and the ultimate feeling of satisfaction filled the night sky. The night wind blew through the core of the ghost town, and the remaining golden fragrance lingered on the tip of the nose as sticky as honey, mixed with the faint bitterness of burnt ash. The gulu-gulu of the earth veins surged again, and the spiritual energy penetrated into every inch of the soil like a warm current. The lights of high-rise buildings rekindled, reflecting the golden and red splendor of the city's night sky. Citizens knelt on the street and kowtowed. Children screamed, "Goddess! The Ghost King is dead, Goddess save the city." The woo-woo of police sirens turned into cheers, and the news app pop-up window was like a rainstorm. Ding ding ding, explosive blast. Shen Qingqing slays the Ghost King. Overlord of the Lingxing sect, reshapes the world of immortality. Shen Qingqing's long hair is light, her pretty face is cold and arrogant, her golden eyes are scanning the crowds of people kneeling, and her jade feet step on the soul stone with a crisp click sound. Really, the spiritual pressure in the spiritual realm was 30 times that of the Golden Sea. The rumbling was faint like thunder, and the purse ghost prison buzzed with a muffled sound. The Ghost King was imprisoned in black smoke. She hummed softly, "The ants worship, but the water in the immortal world is deep." After the celebration, a new game begins. Ji Yuhan's white robe lightly hugged her waist, and his hot breath hit his cheeks. Then the sound of boom broke through the sky in the distance again. 3 purple gold flying boats were like a mountain, with several Taoist old monsters standing on the boat's head. They were hunting in purple robes. Their dark eyes scanned the remaining golden mist. The leading purple-haired old man's sneer echoed like scratching bones. "Shen Qingqing? A commoner kills the Ghost King with needles and mad talismans? What a joke! I am at the peak of Qianzhuan sect's transformation into gods. The Ghost King's weak veins are originally my sex trial pawns. You ruined my sex plan. 3 billion spirit stones? Ghost mine crystal cores? Spit them all back to me." Juhus and Aldershio echoed in a trembling voice, "Yes." So what if the dignitaries of the Zhao family surrendered? Qianzhuan sect has ruled the city for 300 years, but the common people are defying heaven? The great talisman array is just a fluke, the black tide is not over, the Ghost King's true form may have a backup plan. The purple light of the flying boat Zizi pressing down, the spiritual pressure was like a mountain and sea overturning. The 400 souls of the Iron Guard screamed, and were shaken. The fat boy's fat body went limp and he knelt down. His fat face was sallow with tears and sweat rolling wildly. Sect Master. The old monster of the Qianzhuan sect who transformed into gods. The powerful alliance sect pressed the realm. We have a new expansion of tens of thousands of people in the wet pants Shen sect. We can't stop it. The tall and thin man with loose pants and wet teeth collided with each other, and his pale fingers pinched the new talisman, the civilian miracle ghost-slaying king. But the purple boat at the peak of the god, spiritual pressure, and soul-eating, the sect master. The girls in bloody skirts screamed harshly, "Sister, help! The purple light swallows the golden fragrance, and the city will die again." Elder Zhao's grey robe was stained with blood and his hair was trembling. His peak nascent soul body was shaking with chaff. He knelt down and said with fear in his grey eyes, "Sect Master, Qianzhuan. The clan is fighting against Zhao's old enemy. No matter how much the clan's gold veins are charged, it can't stop the Sea of Gods." Jiu Qian's white-haired flying boat retreated, and the elders of the family looked at each other with pale faces and trembled. "Daughter Qingqing, Overlord of Qianzhuan sect, our alliance kneels down and surrenders. It's useless." Yi Jiqing's robes were stained with blood, her jade face was pale, her ink was exhausted, and her blood essence was rustling on the ground. "Sect Master, the three divine veins of the academy are resurging." But Ziju turned into a god and the prediction talisman peeked at the enemy. "The evil plot of the trial has reappeared. Is it all over?" The despair in the whole place surged like black mist, and the purple gold flying boat descended thousands of feet with a rumbling. The purple-haired old man pinched the purple hook with a sinister smile and swish it out. The shadow of the hook was like a sea of dragons devouring gold. "Little girl, the final form of the injection? The purple hook, eats the spirit. I will absorb you 30 times the golden ocean, and I will offer you the Ghost King's crystal core." Jiu Han's white-robed sword buzzed, and the dragon groaned in a low voice, leaning on one knee to help him feel the pain. His eyes were obsessed but trembling. "Qingqing, the golden veins of the family are standing in the way." Luo Li Yin Ling Nao. Hai Yuxiong hurriedly said, "My lord, the purple hook locks the weak veins. The chess pieces of the Ghost King of Qianzhuan sect, the reincarnation fragments hidden in the underworld, do you want to challenge it?" Shen Qingqing's pretty face was red and her golden eyes were shining. Her long hair was dancing wildly while she was sitting cross-legged. Her jade fingers were tapping her spiritual stone wallet. Ding 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 ding. More than 4 billion spirit stones surged into the galaxy. High-grade blood essence ink bombed mountains of blood. God-level prediction talisman upgrades and the ultimate blood mirror unfolded in 100,000 layers. Ghost maps of the battle overlapped. The purple hook veins were revealed, and the weaknesses of Qianzhuan sect's old monsters were exposed. She gritted her teeth and murmured, "The powerful old bug, lower down and bounce up again." The Ghost King crystal core melts the needle, the god-level talisman is greatly sublimated, and the gods are slaughtered like slaughtering dogs. The jade hand held the Ghost King's ancient blood eye crystal core, Gulu, rolling in golden red, and the injection library, boom, injected the final form upgrade, the blood phoenix golden dragon needle. The 11th needle exploded, rumble. The backlash pain is like thousands of insects devouring the brain and turning into infinite spiritual power. The vortex of the golden sea surges 50 times. The peak of the true spirit realm is close to the Hedao spiritual pressure. Boom, soars into the sky. The purple light rolls back thousands of feet. The rotten odor disappears. Only the fragrance of the golden phoenix fills the nostrils. The city lights become brighter. The citizens exclaim, "The goddess is powerful again." Purple boat retreats. Integration and sublimation formation. Shen Qingqing's ghostly figure soared into the sky, and the god-level talismans sands like hundreds of millions of phoenixes chiming together to build a spiritual consciousness fusion and sublimation formation. The blood mirrors 100,000 layers of blood essence and ink phoenixes circled, each talisman exploded with a pop, 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 and purple blood splattered. Thousands of purple hooks forward exploded into ashes with a bang bang, and burnt purple rain fell with a whistle. Luo Li's silver bell jingled in full harmony. Your Majesty, the ghost map is locked, to Qianzhuan. Jiu Han's white robe sword pierced the purple hook's heart veins and exploded again. The omniscient river, bang, at the edge of the protective formation. The sword screamed and the phoenix roar shattered the hook claws. Qingqing, world, the family's golden veins protect you. Yi Jiqing's sleeves trembled wildly, and the five-style blood ink of the talisman puff-puff sprayed out the center of the auxiliary formation, and the talismans and the phoenixes circled and swallowed purple. Sect Master, the Academy's God-level 5 Meridian borrowing spirit. Extreme realm assistance, the divine formation slaughters the gods. The newly expanded souls of the Iron Guards were buzzing. The fat boy threw himself on his knees and burst into tears. The sect master ascended to the great formation. All the wisdom of the sect of the Peeing Pants was merged, and the purple hooks flew away. The tall and thin man jumped up and roared, the civilians are crushed by the great formation. Zizhou. The powerful Qianzhuan looks stupid, the god-level talisman slaughters Wan go. Elder Zhao shook his grey hair and stared as wide as a copper bell. The whole Zhao family called ding ding to replenish the golden veins for another 2 billion. The golden phoenix of the family will destroy the sect. The golden phoenix light of the sublimation formation exploded like a billion suns. The purple hook black mist howled and evaporated. The purple blood sea scorched the purple mountains. The purple stench dispersed and the phoenix fragrance filled the air. The purple gold flying boat trembled and cracked. The purple-haired old man in purple robe hunted backwards thousands of feet. The body of the peak transformation god shook like chaff. The sinister old face twisted and screamed in fear. Impossible. The civilian sublimation formation, the weak veins are exposed, the purple hook cannot bite stop. The elders of Zhu who looked at each other with weak legs and knelt down, the overlord of the Qianzhuan sect, the phoenix talisman is gone. Jiu Qian's white-haired Fei Zhu was trembling with tears, and he knelt down. The Qingqing Tu Huashen is the only one who has the right to marry. Chief Zhao kowtows in grey robes. Zhao's body will be confiscated forever. However, the purple-haired old man's eyes were red and splitting, and the purple boat exploded, boom, like a tsunami. The purple light rushed towards the center of the formation, Shen Qingqing. The sect leader's true body protector, self-destructs to stop you, devouring the golden sea. The purple light was bitten by thousands of insects, and the knowledge the sea burned with pain and everyone's consciousness was shaken. The Iron Guard's soul screamed, in agony. The fat boy's fat face twisted and he retreated and roared, Qianzhuan self-destructed. The boat shattered and hooked. Jiu Han swept his sword and roared, the noble family blocks. Then Shen Qingqing his eyes sneered like ice, and the ultimate blood mirror prediction talisman, Sha, exploded in 100,000 layers. The god-level talisman flew through the purple light with a boom boom boom, and the purple-haired old man's body exploded with purple pulp gushing out like rain. His voice was intermittently desperate. God! The divine array has no leaks? The self-destruction failed, Qianzhuan sect, will regret it forever. The purple smoke of the soul was sucked by the formation and sealed into the ghost prison of the wallet, and the wreckage of the airship fell to the ground into a grey mountain. The formation advanced to the core, and the chirps of the sublimated golden phoenix penetrated the Qianzhuan secret treasure. The purple-haired old man's true soul fragments were exposed, the fragments of the ancient ghost map, Gulu, rolled over, and the dark map was revealed. Qianzhuan sect colluded with the reincarnation of the Ghost King to control the revival of the city's aura. She tapped her jade finger lightly, and the pop-up window of her wallet flashed wildly. Tianjuan Sect's soul seal, the reincarnation treasure, ancient purple hook crystal core, 5 billion spiritual stones purple ore, ghost picture fragments were all in the bag. The balance of spiritual stones soared to tens of billions, and the inventory of god-level talismans was billions. Thousands of people from the Iron Guard roared and cheered, stamping on Zihui, sect leader Tu Tianjuan. The god with a wallet worth tens of billions, and the common people dominate the world. The tall and thin man in loose pants danced wildly and yelled, "Transform into ashes and fly away, the divine formation is invincible." The powerful sects were stunned, and the whole city knelt down. Girls in blood-stained skirts twirled and cheered, "Sect Master is in the sky and on the earth, the power of the academy is passed down to the world." Shen Qingqing's long hair fell to the ground, her pretty face proudly glowed with golden light. She looked down at the people kneeling in the sea, her golden eyes narrowed slightly. The powerful are as dust, the ghost pictures are cleared. Adventure summary: from being accidentally involved in the ghost town, to the injection to awaken and merge the past life, to the cheating of the talisman paper after being promoted to the academy, I will be able to slay the ghost king and destroy Tianjuan. I, Shen Qingqing, will transform from mortal to the peak of the true spirit. I will have 10,000 people in the Lingxing sect and have a fortune of tens of billions. The 3 branches of the academy will be confiscated. The Zhao family will always be loyal to me. Jiu Han's eyes were obsessed with him as he hugged his waist and kissed his cheeks warmly. "Qingqing, we are getting married tonight, and the golden veins of the family's mansion will be shared endlessly." Yi Jiqing robe knelt on her jade face and worshipped with tears streaming down her face. The sect master personally conferred the magic talisman, and thousands of people in the college were reborn in the ultimate realm. Elder Zhao was grey. His eyes were round and grey, and he was trembling. The whole clan's insiders have been wiped out, and the sacred treasures in purple mines are piled up, and tens of billions will be recharged. The fat boy swung around in circles, carrying the wallet, and grinned. The growth of the sect leader is a myth. The diaper god sect will expand to 100,000, and the common people will defy the heavens and pass on forever. Urban news apps flooded with "Ding Ding, Shen Qingqing massacred Tianjuan sect." Lingxing sect dominates the world of immortality, the academy's god-level families marry, and the spiritual energy revives for a new era. More flying boats arrived from the distance, and the elders of the hidden sect's face turned pale and they knelt down. The civilian goddess looks down on the sect like ants, "We kneel down and surrender." Luo Li's mind rang softly, "My lord, the ghost map fragments have melted into the sea, the ancient cultivation level has skyrocketed, and the threshold of the Hedao realm has been loosened. But deep in the crystal core, the black shadow is pulsating, and a new ghost realm is looming?" Shen Qingqing's golden eyes flashed with a cold light, and the jade hand held the purple-hooked crystal core and whispered, "Gulu," and there was a faint black mist, "Zizi." Seeping out, the spiritual energy riot in the distant sky boomed, and the news pop-up window flashed. The second wave of spiritual energy recovery. The hidden ghost realm awakens, a super ghost king level threat? She sneered and whispered, "New suspense. But lower it and play again." The needle talisman sublimates, and kills it. Everyone gasped, and the fat boy had round eyes. Staring fat and shouting, "Sect master, fight again? The Shen sect will slaughter new ghosts." Jiuhen hugged and whispered, "Qingqing, no matter what the enemy is, the sword of the family will always be with you." The golden fragrance in the night sky became thicker, the cheers were like thunder, and the ultimate feeling of joy filled the air. Shen Qingqing's figure stood proudly at the top of the city, the world was at his feet, a new game was slowly opening, and his dominance was endless. Shen Qingqing stood on the broken soul stone with her long hair flying, her golden eyes looking down at the people, her pretty face cold and arrogant. Lingxing sect, dominate the urban immortal cultivator. The Ghost King's final domain, needles slaughter him. But the core door crack, the black tide surged like a tsunami, the Ghost King's bloody eyes swallowed the sky, the fishy wind and the stench of rotten corpses came again, the ultimate ghost domain summoned, rumbling, ground cracks, and crisis thunder surged.